What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers get a win against the San Antonio Spurs. I'm gonna need to bring Eric on because I watched the fourth quarter at a rec league game. Got that win in that rec league game. Blazers get this win tonight, but took a massive loss at the trade deadline. So, So I'm gonna call Eric, and we'll get his thoughts on the game. I'm tired of having games on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So let me call Eric for you guys. I got to plug in my headphones too. Wherever I left my headphones, where are my headphones? Right there. All right, what's up, Eric? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on just a
Alrighty,
sec.
you just
Get my headphones.
Alright, I'm mute it. Shout out Ol Jakob for the 20 Norwegian crony donation. He says, "Come on, T-Dog, cheer up." Yeah, I mean, Gary Trent Jr. looked good in the fourth quarter. I mean, I didn't watch the entire game. I had directly. That's the problem with Tuesday, Thursday games. But that's what we got Eric to fill us in. I mean, it looked like I checked the score, and after three quarters, 92 points to the Spurs. Like, I mean, we tightened up in the fourth, but I'll mute you. I'll make sure to do that. All right, so I want your takeaways from the game because I didn't watch the whole thing. I had to go get that win in rec league. That guy didn't drop 50 on me, by the way. no, not even close. But anyway, so what takeaways from the game? What do you want to talk about? I'll give you the floor.
Basically, our defense still sucks, and our three-point shooting was good tonight, especially Gary Trent. And I don't know what Dame finished shooting in the second half, but he shot like 50% in the first half and he had like 12 and 5 at halftime. But yeah, basically Gary Trent hit a bunch of threes at the end to give us a lead, and we didn't look back, but we were down double digits most of the first half.
Yeah,
because we gave up 35 in the first quarter. And
shout out Benjamin Heron for the $5 donation. He says Trent is always going to be better than Simons, though. Honestly, Trent has been the nice development this season, not Simons, and that's kind of surprising. Everybody thought it was going to be Simons breaking out. It's actually Gary Trent. Eric Bouchard says, "How sad are you guys going to feel when the Blazers let Trent Jr. walk for nothing at the end of next year to be a nice piece for some other team's bench?" Oh my God!
Oh no, we're not going to let him leave for nothing. We're going to
pay a team to take him.
We're going to give away a second-round pick so a team takes him off our hands, so we save another like $300,000 off our cap number next.
Fun, man. God.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm more mad than I was this afternoon after I listened to Olshey stupid face talk. So, yeah.
And you've been an Olshey supporter, man. That's the thing. Eric's been an Olshey supporter. I was defending. You guys know that have watched me. I was defending Olshey all year. Okay, we call it how we see it. We're not biased towards anybody. We're not a hater for anybody. We call it how we see it, and we know the game of basketball. We know the CBA. We know that type of stuff. Olshey, big failure today. So I'm still frustrated about that. I don't know, man. It's like happy that we won, I guess, but it's like, okay, 24-28, gotta chase down that 8th seed. OKC kept Gallinari, so that they have the hold on that 7th seed, and I mean, just gotta enjoy the basketball now, I guess. Enjoy Gary Trent Jr. knocking down 4 threes in a quarter type of stuff.
Yeah, Chief, and we'll get into the interview later. Let's talk about the game first. Yep. Yeah, Dame finished with, I think, 26 points, 9 of 20 shooting, so it didn't have quite as good a shooting in the second half. He did finish with 10 assists for the double-double. Whiteside was a monster on the boards. He played pretty good defense on Aldridge as well. He even blocked his little turnaround jumper twice, which was cool. That's pretty hard to do. Anthony Davis is one of the few people who, when he was a Blazer, could actually block that shot. Yeah. Melo was 4 for 7 from three, so he played pretty well too. But yeah, story of the game is Gary Trent. But
Yeah.
it's weird. Like I want this team to win. I'm still rooting for them. I'll never not root for the Blazers to win unless it's like a situation where they're out of the playoffs and winning does no good but ruin their chances of getting a high lottery pick or something. Yeah. But like in this situation, I'm never not going to choose. I want this team to like go on a big run just in spite of the organization right now, but at the same time that kind of rewards the organization for not caring about the team and only worrying about a couple $1 million today instead of actually giving Dame in his prime year at the peak of his powers some help. And yeah, so it's just frustrating that, I mean, we're going to need guys like Trent. Simons had 10 points in the first half. He had a nice stretch in that second quarter. The defense actually was better with our second unit tonight, which is really weird to say.
Well, Hassan Whiteside, we can't trade his 3 blocks a game. Why would you want to trade that? God.
Yeah, so but Simons had a stretch where he hit a couple like pull-up jumpers and 2 threes in like a 4 or 5 minute stretch. And it was nice to see him come out of a slump a little bit, but then he didn't do anything in the second half. Swanigan, played all right, 6 and 4. It's about as good as we can.
People's mix. I've watched the whole season, bro. So that it's basically how it's been all season. Reports are saying we got a second round pick from Atlanta. Yeah, it's top 55 protected in like 2024.
It's basically not.
If Atlanta's like pick. One of the best 5 teams in the league, then we get like the 57th pick. It's worthless. It doesn't factor into the equation for me.
Yeah, we had a lot of trouble. This is the problem we're gonna have. So Trey Lyles was 4 for 6 from 3, 9 of 11 from the floor, 23 points, 10 boards.
Trey freaking Lyles. Okay.
Yeah. So if Whiteside and Nurk are going to play together, one of them would have to guard him, and Melo couldn't do anything to stop him. But yeah, Whiteside is going to get out and contest threes. Yeah. Aldridge was only 2 of 6 on threes, but he was getting some pretty good looks from out there. But yeah, Whiteside doesn't really go out on the perimeter that much. So, but Whiteside had a great game. It just doesn't. We have Whiteside putting up these amazing defensive stats and rebounding stats, but it doesn't have any effect on how good our defense is, if that makes sense.
I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't have any effect, but it doesn't have like the effect that you would think looking at the stats.
Right. Yeah, I misspoke, but like
it's not.
And I'm not saying it's empty or it's his fault. I'm just saying like
they're like
his system. Yeah,
they're I'd say they're slightly empty. Like not, I don't know, not empty isn't the right word for it. But like the stats don't paint the whole picture. That's the better way to explain it. Because people are like either, oh, Whiteside's amazing, or oh, he just puts up empty stats. It's like either one extreme or the other. Like he does chase blocks, and there's times where there will be like 3 possessions in a game where he probably shouldn't go for a block because it's just not the right situation. He can't get to it, or the offensive player has a really small chance of even making the shot. And like out of those 3 times, he'll get 1 block, which will help him get to 3 blocks a game. He'll and then like 2 of them, he'll give up an offensive rebound because he chased the block when he shouldn't have, and he would have had the defensive rebound if he just stayed home and didn't chase the block. And that'll happen like once or twice a game, or he'll go foul a guy. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, he'll get an extra block, but there are other possessions where he should be in position to get a defensive rebound because he can't go get the block anyways, or the player's probably not going to make the shot. And instead of just, being in position for the defensive rebound, he goes and chases that block. So yeah, it's I don't know.
I feel like that's the system though. Like, because Stotts wants him to contest if the guy's attacking the rim. but he wants them to not contest on mid range.
But it was funny
but,
today at my rec league. I had two random people like explain that in the right way, like exactly how I think about it, exactly like how I just explained. Like people that like actually kind of surprised me that they explained it. Like, you know what I mean? Just like random. I didn't know they like, you know, were watch the Blazers a lot or whatever. And they're like, yeah, you know, he'll get a block, but there's multiple times a game where he'll give up an offensive rebound on a putback because he's chasing blocks that he shouldn't go after. So that's the thing. Like, he'll get 3 blocks a game, but you can't put all your stock into blocked shots numbers because a guy like Nurkic, he tends to always make the right decision. That's why I think Nurkic is a better defender than Whiteside. He goes after blocks at the right time and he stays home at the right time. And yeah, his blocks per game is 1.5 blocks per game instead of 3, so it doesn't look flashy and he doesn't have as many highlight blocks, but it's better overall defense and better for the team. So that's why when Olshey was sitting there saying, why would you want to trade a guy getting 3 blocks a game? I cringed at that. Because you can't put stock into a guy getting blocks like that, and Olshey should be watching the game and know enough about basketball to notice this. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying, you know, people say, oh, his blocks are completely empty. No, you know, he has some good blocks, and he has games where I'll 5 blocks, and like 4 of them he should have went after, and you know, and he does protect the rim at a decent level, but you can't put that much stock into like his stats.
I will say Melo's killing us on defense too. So I blame Melo more than I blame Whiteside right now. So
that. Shout out Joshua Collins for the $10 or 10 Australian, I think that is. $10. I'll just say $10 donation. He says, was having a discussion with ignorant Blazer fan and he started throwing out insults. I got a snippet of what you two experienced. Not gonna lie, it kind of triggered me for the rest of the day. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of public figures, so we kind of expect that, you know, it's a little different when you're not a public figure. I literally had a guy say I sounded like a little kid because I was complaining about us giving up 92 points in 3 quarters. Like, you know, I get people like DMing me saying I have no idea what I'm talking about and I'm an idiot and stuff like that all the time. So now I'm kind of used to it. It is, you know, kind of weird to be on that end of things because, like, I never got that in the past. You know, it's different, but comes with the territory. So, I mean, if you get a glimpse into that, it sucks, but people are, there's a lot. The thing is, the people that normally throw out insults in conversations like that are the people that honestly don't know what they're talking about. That's what I've noticed. So because they don't know what they're talking about, they can't have a conversation, so they just result to insults.
Hey, have you updated it so it updates your little headers on the top when people donate?
Jakob has that donation there, but maybe not.
Wasn't that from
I don't know. It's kind
that was from this afternoon.
I don't know, like, why it won't. Yeah, you're right. It is from this afternoon. So I don't know why it won't, because, I mean, I got chat right here in the software, but
there was a lot of possessions where the Blazers, especially in the first half, were fighting over rebounds. Like, they're ripping it from each other's hands and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a big win to get the tiebreaker against San Antonio.
It's a big one in the chase for the 8th seed.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy they won. Just I don't want to be a downer. So
yeah, it's just
tough. Whiteside is putting up is indeed putting up better stats than Nurkic does, but I wonder what Nurk's stats would be this year with how depleted this roster was. Like, if it was Nurk instead of Whiteside, would Nurk be averaging like 15 rebounds because we have no one else that can get a rebound?
Exactly. I mean, like, Whiteside goes out there and will like steal rebounds from guys though. Like, he bums teammates off of rebounds and stuff. That's also why, like, 23 rebounds. It's like, I don't get excited for that. You know what I mean? Like, because we've struggled rebounding this year more than we have in previous years, and that's with Hassan Whiteside getting like 14 rebounds a game, 15 rebounds. So,
Brian Scalabrine, we're not saying that Nurk is like we both agree that Nurkic is the better fit on this team and a better overall player.
Yeah, I literally said that like 3-4 minutes ago. I literally said he's a better defender, and offensively he's a more versatile big and can pass better and might not be as efficient around the rim, but I think he makes up for it with his passing. He's just a smart offensive player. So.
And yeah, look at if you ever are curious who the better player is, look at offensive rating. Despite Whiteside having way better numbers.
I don't know, yeah.
Nurk's offensive rating is like Doncic this year. Like, they're comparable.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's as good as Doncic. I'm just saying, like, yeah, he sets great screens.
Yeah, that's a big part of it that is underrated too. Is the thing is Whiteside has gotten better. Yep, I was literally gonna say that Whiteside has gotten better. So props to Whiteside for improving on that. I think that's probably been an area of focus. And I mean, like, Dame doesn't go on quite the stretch he's gone on lately without Whiteside setting better screens than he was earlier in the season. But God, man. It's just like, yeah, happy about the win, happy Gary Trent's doing stuff. It's just like our defense still isn't good. We're not going to upset the Los Angeles Lakers unless we play much better defense. You got people were saying that Collins might be out for the rest of the year. I didn't watch the whole Olshey interview. Or like, I don't know. I watched there was a 2-minute segment on YouTube that I watched. Shout out to the guy, I forget who it was, but a guy in the comment section was like, Torrey Jones and Eric Brandt sent me here, and it had like 18 likes. That was cool. That was cool to see. But so what's the deal with Collins and Nurkic and their timetables? Because I saw he answered that, but I didn't hear what he said.
All right, we're starting with that.
What?
We're starting with Nurk and Collins and injuries. All right, so Nurk.
Starting with it.
There's literally like 10 things in that interview that just triggered me, and I'm so like
Oh, you mean like that's
I'm so
that's
mad.
Like the first trigger point that you're gonna talk about, or what?
So, yeah, well, Nurk's day to day, but they're gonna take their time. They're not gonna rush him back. They're gonna be super cautious. He's not going to play on back-to-backs. He's going to be extremely limited minutes-wise. He didn't give an exact number, but he was...
through playoffs?
He said this season, yeah, like, there's no chance of him not being on a minutes restriction, and they're going to... They are not going to push him at all.
13 months after his injury, he's still going to be on a minutes restriction.
I know. I'm telling you that this is what.
No,
he's
I know.
saying,
I'm not like saying it in response to you. I'm saying it in response to Olshey.
I've been telling you all year that this is what was going to happen. So yeah,
Melo, it's been 10 and a half months. I'm saying in April in the playoffs, he's still apparently going to be on a minutes restriction. That's 13 months after his injury. He got injured March 25th.
Brooke was like, "Oh, so does that mean we'll for sure see him this year?" And like he wouldn't guarantee it, or
I misinterpreted what he was saying. Sorry.
And then so then she asked him about Collins, and he was basically like, "We are not playing Collins this year unless he's 110%. So we'll have to see towards the end of the year if he's even available to play, but." We're not going to play him unless
he's
there is no chance.
110%. What? That's their
so
first off. There's no such thing as 110%. You can't be more than 100% healthy. But
he said if there's any risk at all of him re-injuring it or it being a case where it's too risky for him to play, he will sit out the rest of the season and not play this year. So,
well, but, why does he have to word it like that?
I honestly, his tone made it seem like at minimum he was going to be out till like the very, very end of the season and maybe play in the playoffs. But I forgot what question Brooke asked a follow-up question, and he was like, "No, I'm serious" type answer, you know. Yeah, I'm definitely paraphrasing. I
Yeah,
don't
but
have
no,
his
I mean,
exact
like I
quotes here.
assume you were like you say we'll bring back Collins once he's healthy, like once he's fully healthy. That's literally all you have to say. We'll bring back Collins once he's fully healthy. But I could picture how O'Shea probably said it. We're not gonna bring him back until he's 110% ready to go. And I don't know, like the way you paraphrased it, like I can, I don't know. I'd have to listen to it, but it's like, but okay, so if we don't expect Collins to come back, like who's the backup power forward? You're talking about Nasir in the playoffs, or hopefully not
We'll
Swat
just
again.
play.
Hopefully,
We'll just play Melo 48
I
minutes.
mean maybe Trevor Ariza plays all the backup 4 minutes and plays some starting 3 minutes. Like what? Like what's the plan
But
here? What's the plan?
hey, can you play segments on the air and then we can react to each part of it?
Probably. I don't think it'll get copyright claimed or anything.
A lot of people want to hear.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's react to.
Yeah, it's on like the Blazers media thing. I think like their YouTube page.
I mean, I saw one 2 minute segment,
I think that's all it was.
but he didn't talk about like Collins or Nurkic at all in there. And
Are you sure?
yeah, you said there's 10 different things that triggered you about like his interview. How would 10 things trigger you in 2 minutes? I mean, it's Olshey though, so maybe. But
Oh, yeah, trust me.
I mean, I listened to it. I
Yeah.
just didn't hear what some people were talking about.
So he did the whole. We're missing 60% of our starting lineup, and then went on. Or I don't know if this is before or after. But he said Whiteside's like an elite starting center and all that stuff. So it's like, well, if Whiteside's a starting center and you didn't entertain any trade offers for him, but
You're gonna come back and you're gonna bring him off the bench though,
but
and try and recite him.
but now you're using the excuse that you're missing three starters when it comes to another part of your argument, but Whiteside is so good as a starter that you're not missing it. You can't
we have an
trade him,
elite
but you're
starting
still
center
missing a
right now,
starter.
but we're
Like,
missing our starting center. That makes no sense. It doesn't make sense, man.
well, no, I have no problem with him thinking or Whiteside is a starting center and like more than like one of the best starting centers in the league. If that's how he thinks, fine. But then don't use the excuse later on that you're missing 60% of your starting lineup because you have Whiteside. You're not. If you have an elite starting center, you're not missing 60% of your starting lineup. You're missing 40%. And a lot of the games we struggled this year, we weren't even missing that 40%. We were missing 20%. So
Anyway, let's react to him. I'll put it up on the screen. We'll see what happens with this. Alrighty. You can't hear him. That's the one problem. But I mean,
wait, I'll play it on my.
but I might pause it at certain points.
Yeah.
I'll just wait and.
Obviously, everyone looking for moves today, but for you as a GM, this started for you a few weeks back with Trevor Ariza coming to the Blazers, which has really worked out. Let's talk about that.
Right. Everybody looks, over the last hour what happened, and there was clearly, there was a lot of activity from certain teams. But, for us, look, we came into the season with the highest.
A lot of activity from certain teams. Yeah, never us. He says that every year. There was a lot of activity from certain teams. Certain teams, never us. God, man.
Can you put closed captioning on?
Yeah, I can actually.
We're going to pay the biggest luxury tax bill in the NBA.
Thanks.
And because of all the injuries, we're missing 60% of our starting lineup. It just wasn't responsible to have a payroll like that.
Yeah,
so,
60% of our starting lineup, that's what we just talked about, but we still have a starting center, an elite starting center, but we're still missing 60% of our starters. It just doesn't make sense.
we went into the trade deadline weeks ago knowing we were going to want to shave our bill down. We wouldn't get under the tax because, to Jody's credit, she did not want to convey a first-round pick. She didn't want to give up any basketball assets that would give this opportunity less of a chance to compete for a playoff
See,
this year.
pause.
Got you.
He basically said he's not creative enough to cut salary without giving up a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, so let me rewind it. This is what I don't understand.
First-round pick. She didn't want to give up any basketball assets that would give this opportunity less of a chance to compete for a playoff bid.
So she didn't want to give up any assets that would give them less of a chance to compete for a playoff bid this year. Okay, I have a couple points to speak on there. One, Olshey could have gotten creative and given up a pick or an asset or something and gotten back, I don't know, I think he could have gotten back something that would have helped us compete for a playoff bid just as much this year as keeping Whiteside, right? And would have set us up better for the future, which should be the number one priority. You know what I mean? In the past, he had an interview a couple months ago where he said, like, yeah, we're injured, we're not going to make a move that for this year that sacrifices what we're trying to do long term. Right? Am I wrong? Didn't he say that in an interview with Jason Quick earlier this year?
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, we're not going to sacrifice anything that gives us less of a chance to compete for a playoff bid this year. So that's kind of contradictory to me. But then...
Well, okay, so I don't know if the part about Whiteside is after this or not, but this comes into play where he says, because once again, it's kind of a contradiction. He said he never fielded offers for Whiteside and wasn't willing to listen to offers when people called. So like never trading Whiteside was never on the table is what he said. So like
we can get to him.
But
Brian Scalabrine is right. He says Scal's an asset. Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that you didn't entertain any offers for him means that you don't know. You have no idea if you could have made the team better by trading Whiteside for like Oubre and Baines or someone like that. Like you didn't even entertain any of those offers. So how do we even know that any of those were off the table?
Do his
and those would have gotten us. They would have gotten us under the luxury tax as well. So it would have pleased Jody. Yeah. And you could have made the team better possibly in the future.
He didn't do his due diligence. Like some people will say, "Oh, you don't know if those deals were out there." Okay, yeah, they might have, they might not have. Olshey doesn't know if those deals were out there because he didn't do his due diligence. That's the problem with that. If it would be different if Olshey said, we were trying to find upgrades, also shed our tax bill to help out this team, but there was nothing out there that satisfied both. That would be completely different than, we didn't entertain a single offer for Hassan Whiteside. We didn't listen to anything. That's ridiculous. You do your due diligence, even if it ends up resulting in nothing, even if you still feel like, I'm probably not going to do anything. You still do your due diligence to see what's out there, but Olshey doesn't do his due diligence, man.
So, I just got to respond to chat. So, Block Boy Backland, stop spamming that, please. I'll answer your question. So, we're crazy for blaming Melo for defense because he was a plus 20 tonight. Do you realize why he's a plus 20? We talked about this already. He played with the second unit in the second quarter where Simons got hot and Trent was hot. And then he was in at the end where Gary Trent hit a bunch of threes and Melo himself had a good shooting night. So that's why he was plus 20. It didn't have anything to do with his lockdown defense. Why?
Exactly.
Why did Trey Lyles have like a career night tonight if Melo played a great defensive game? I'm sorry, but plus minus does not give any indication on how good of a defensive individual player you are.
Exactly. You can't base too much off of plus minus regardless, but yeah, that's a great point. It definitely wasn't because of his defense. That's why you kind of gotta, that's why you gotta pay attention when you're watching games to what's going on out there instead of just looking at, plus minus, he played good defense. No, it's not that simple.
Okay, go. You can go back to that if you want.
So we did. We felt like in that trade we got the best player in the trade.
Lakers lost.
The draft assets we conveyed to Sacramento were significant, but they're so far down the line they don't affect our ability to compete now or in the immediate future. And then today,
I kind of agree with that.
The Ariza trade's fine, and we knew he was going to Well, oh, you know what else triggered me? We got the best player that any trade today when we get Nurkic back.
Did he really say
He
that?
says that.
Just let me get
sure
to
did.
it instead of foreshadowing, because like I kind of skimmed through this interview and missed some things. So you keep, because I would react to that live, you know. No, you're
Sorry.
fine.
Yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
We love Scal. And then today, we just had an opportunity. We love Scal. He's not capable of playing right now or for the foreseeable future. And we needed to make sure that we have as many healthy bodies on the floor as possible. I mean, clearly we're still missing Nurk. We're still missing Zach.
Pause.
How does trading Scal help you get more healthy bodies on the floor? You didn't get anyone back, and then he said that they're not going to sign anyone. So that literally makes no sense. This is literally what drives me crazy about Neil Olshey. We love Scal.
He's not capable of playing right now or for the foreseeable future.
We need healthy bodies for practice, so we paid to have someone take him, and we're not going to. I'm
replaying it. Just like, guys, like literally pay attention to what this guy's saying. It makes no sense.
We just had an opportunity. We love Scal. He's not capable of playing right now or for the foreseeable future.
We love Scal. He's not capable of playing right now.
I'm playing it out loud.
I know. I'm just reading.
But you're like echoing him.
Right now or for the foreseeable. And then today, we just had an opportunity. We love Scal. He's not capable of playing right now or for the foreseeable future. And we needed to make sure that we have as many healthy bodies on the floor as possible. I mean, clearly we're still missing Nurk.
Love Scal, but we need to make sure we had as many healthy bodies as possible. So we traded him away for nothing and won't sign anybody in his place. Okay, Neil. Good job.
All right. Chris Stevens says, well, technically we have a higher percentage of non-injured players, but that's not more healthy bodies.
That's how O'Shea should have spun it. We just needed a higher percentage of healthy bodies on the floor, so that's why we traded Scal. Now we'll have a higher percentage of the players that we do have that will be healthy.
Now 10 of our 14 are injured instead of 10 of 15.
So we have 70% health now instead of 66. So, might as well have just been blatantly dumb about it like that. That's funny.
We're going to miss Rodney for the season. So we just didn't have the luxury of keeping guys on the roster that weren't going to be capable of playing during this, push over the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Didn't have the luxury because of money, basically, I guess.
Well, okay, I don't want to ruin the other part of this, the roster spot thing.
But you're good.
I'll just wait to say what I'll just wait to say
what
I'm going to say. Yeah.
This trade deadline experience like for you versus past seasons?
A little different. This is we were in the luxury tax last year, but we went in deeper because we really felt like we had a chance to compete for a championship, and that run ended with the Western Conference Finals. This year was a little bit different. We like the guys on the roster.
Got to pump the Western Conference Finals.
Yep. Gotta drop that. You gotta drop that.
That we can re-sign next year, guys that have non-guaranteed contracts that we're really considering keeping on the roster next season. So it was really more about how can we manage our payroll at a more responsible level while still allowing this team to compete at as high a level as they possibly can. We think the roster's trending up, lately. We still miss, obviously, Zach and Nurk. But the little run that we had prior to the trade deadline showed this is a roster that can compete right now.
Oh, my God, it's so stupid. The run we went on where Damian Lillard was averaging 50 points per game, that shows that this roster can compete right now. That's so stupid. That's such a stupid, dumb thing to say, man.
Well,
like, you need Dame dropping 50 a game in order to compete right now. That's not sustainable.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to wait again. I still have something to say. And it has to do with the same thing.
Yeah, it's just so that's so stupid to me. That's so dumb, man. Like, that's the thing is he literally just puts on all this window dressing. He puts on all this it's he literally just sits there and is like, oh well, that 6-game run that shows we can compete at a very high level. With no context, the fact that Dame is averaging 50 points per game. And that's not sustainable. You know what I mean? I can't tell if he actually thinks this roster can compete on a high level because of that stretch or what. But Dame is not going to put up Wilt Chamberlain scoring numbers, okay? God, man. He's not going to do that for an entire season. That was an insane stretch, one of the best stretches in history, and he's using it as if, like, that's how the team is. You know what I mean? And then we lose to a beat-up Denver Nuggets team by 30, the game that Dame falls back to earth. Like, God. Anyway, I'm going to play the rest of it.
And still have the potential to improve when those guys return later. And then still have the potential to improve when those guys return. Zach and Nurk. But, the little run that we had prior to the trade deadline showed this is a roster that can compete right now and then still have the potential to improve when those guys return later in the season.
Thanks for your time, Neil.
See, that was like all there was. But no, so potential to improve.
Yeah, there's definitely more parts to it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't know if he got interviewed by someone else or what, but he thinks this team is good enough. He thinks this team is good enough, I guess, like when they're healthy, which is a mistake, man.
So he was asked flat out, so does this mean you have the extra roster spot? Before she could even finish the question, no. So you're not going to be players or using that roster spot in the buyout market. He says no again. And then he starts to say something else, and he says no. We made this trade today to save money. We're not going to undo that money. It's exactly what I said earlier today. They're not going to undo signing someone would undo the money they saved in this trade. Mm-hmm. And that was the whole reason for doing the trade. So he basically said there was zero chance of signing someone to that roster spot.
You got to give this team the best chance to compete for a playoff bid this year.
If the team is competing right now, he just showed you that this team can compete in the playoffs. He just got done saying this team can compete in the playoffs based on this last 4 games. If you truly believe what you're effing saying, then you would add someone that would help this team be even better and have an even better chance of doing something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm loud, but it just pisses me off. Like, you're basically saying that saving $1 million is better than having a chance of competing for a title this year. That is what he said.
Yeah.
That is what he's implying. That saving a max $2 million for trading Skal. That saved Jody $2 million. It did nothing to save luxury tax, repeater tax. None of that matters because we're still in the luxury tax. We still have the highest tax bill in the NBA. We're still going to pay out at the end of this year. All so you can justify saving $2 million. It's not worth adding a player that can help this team compete for a title this year. If you want to keep Whiteside and go for it this year and compete, fine. I've already given up on that being what was going to happen today. But you give the team a chance to win then. Get the best possible buyout candidate in that spot. Make a trade today to fill that roster spot after you gave up Skal or something. Like, there's guys like Kyle O'Quinn. We need another big man right now. He's better than fucking Skal.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to swear.
No, I could tell.
But, like, there's going to be a lot of buyout candidates right now that...
Oh, a ton. There's going to be a lot.
There's all these guys. Like, they can't all go to the same team. There's going to be someone that can help us. But, like, we're not going to even try to help this team win. We're just going to be like, okay, either Dame scores 50 points and Whiteside goes berserk and we maybe get some guys healthy again, but we're probably not going to play Zach anyway. And don't expect anything from Nurk because we're going to play him like 4 minutes a game because we're scared that he's going to get hurt.
That'd be more acceptable if he didn't say, we want to give this team the best chance to compete for a playoff bid. Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. Yeah. His moves and what he's saying is completely contradictory.
Because he's saying Jody didn't want to give up assets. Fine. You didn't want to give up a first to get under the tax.
Yeah.
Fine.
Which could have maybe landed you like a Kelly Oubre and Aaron Baines. Who knows?
But then why does it matter if you save $2 million then? Because you didn't get under the tax. Like if it got under the tax, then I would completely agree with you. But so you had 3 possible outcomes today, right? You could completely say, you know what, screw this year. Let's get under the tax and be more financially aware of our situation, which is fine. Like that, if that's the direction you want to go, fine. If that was what Jody told them to do, get out of the tax or do whatever you can to lower the tax bill, fine. Right? Okay, cool. You also have the option of making a trade or a small trade that would have made this team better this year, right? Who knows what that would be like? But I mean, like Miami's trade for Iguodala or Gallinari or even a smaller player, you could use the trade exception to get some sort of player, anyone, right? But like, so you have an option to cut tax, make a small move that would make this team better this year, or make a move that wasn't designed for this year but meant to help you in future years, right? So those are basically the three branches. There's obviously variations of those three, and there's some moves that could, like the Uprise trade, that could possibly help all three of those, but you have to be creative enough. But he didn't do any of the three. We didn't get better today. We got worse because we traded one of our assets. Our future assets got depleted because we got rid of Scal for nothing and had to give cash away for him. And I'm not saying Scal is like a world beater, but like we didn't get better today for this year, but yet we're going to compete. And then we didn't get better for the future. We actually are now we have less flexibility moving forward. And we didn't get under the luxury tax. So we failed on all three. So what the hell are we doing? Yeah. What? I don't understand. What are we doing?
We're directionless right now. And
if you want to whine and say like, oh, well, there's just not the deals out there. There's just not. Well, dude, you've had freaking 4 years since 2016 to fix this. You knew this time was coming this year. Obviously, you can't plan on the injuries, but like you can't tell me that going into the season, he said up until a month ago, the plan was to be fine with paying the tax this year. And then, so we have this hot stretch and all of a sudden we're not fine but we're still competing.
Yeah.
And like,
well, the thing is, the people saying, oh, well, maybe, just probably didn't have the deals out there. Those are the same people that have been saying that for like the last 5 years. At some point, it gets to the point where like, okay, there's obviously deals out here. There's trades made every year, like 15 trades made every trade deadline. Olshey will make a trade for a role player, but it's like at some point you got to look at it and say maybe Olshey just can't get the job done. And the thing is, okay, yeah, maybe the deals weren't out there, but the problem is he didn't do his due diligence and see what was out there. He admitted that he didn't field offers for Hassan Whiteside. He didn't shop Hassan Whiteside. He didn't even go out and see what was out there. He literally admitted that. So he doesn't have the excuse of maybe there wasn't a deal out there because he didn't see what was out there.
Yeah, he didn't even try. So how do we know? Like people keep saying, oh, well, look what Drummond got for you in a trade. But like, Detroit didn't take back long-term salary. If we would have taken back lesser money for longer-term contracts, we possibly could have gotten out of the luxury tax today and a better asset than the second round pick they got. But they weren't willing to take on long-term money. They wanted other expiring contracts, which wouldn't make sense in our case because we were trying to get assets back. But like we didn't even explore any of those opportunities. So how do we know there wasn't a trade that could have benefited one of those three? And to the person who says, I just want to make sure I get this right. And Flo, I don't know what you are not understanding on this. He keeps asking who would have been better to make us a contender or whatever. That doesn't accomplish any... I just got done saying it's fine if you think Whiteside makes us a contender. Then fill the last roster spot. That's why I was hoping that we traded Scal to save a little bit of money so we could be a player in the buyout market. If that's when he first said that we're going to compete, then fine. Like add someone then and help. But like
if we're trying to be a contender, commit to that and use that final roster spot for a buyout player. You know what I mean? Like commit to a direction. The people saying, oh, well, what was out there that would have made us better? It's like, okay, so if you're concerned about making us better, then you should be upset that Olshey isn't using that last roster spot. Basically, the whole fan base should be upset, no matter what their opinion is, because there's fans that think we should try and go for it this year and contend. There's fans that think we should trade Whiteside so he doesn't leave, just, try and get something for him. There's people like us who think we should have tried to get a 2-year contract, maybe a trade player exception so we could have some assets for future flexibility. Like, there's multiple different directions Olshey could have gone. I think everybody in the fan base, every Blazer fan should be upset because Olshey did not commit to any one direction. He literally didn't accomplish anything. He didn't even get under the tax. So the people that are like, oh yeah, well, he has to save Jody money. He didn't even get under the tax and saved her, what, $2 million? Cool. You know what I mean? So I don't understand how anybody can defend him, because a lot of their opinions that are, that they're stating in defense of Olshey, it's like, for Flo here in chat, man, it's how are we trying to contend if we're not going to use that last roster spot,
What? Okay, he keeps saying we keep going off about this one thing for weeks. And what's annoying about it? We're asking to pick a direction. How is that annoying?
It's basic. Every franchise should have a direction. You shouldn't be a directionless franchise.
The deadline was today, Flo. We're complaining on the day of the deadline. We're not dragging this on. Like, what is your problem? Seriously. I'm trying to answer your questions, but you're not making sense.
Man, it's whatever. I mean,
no, they did not pick a direction. They tried to do a little bit of one and a little bit of the other, and it made all
my
three
question
worse.
For him. What direction did they pick? What direction did they pick? Because staying pat wasn't picking a direction. So what direction did they pick? Contend this year? Try and contend next year? Try and make an upgrade next year? Try and contend with this roster?
Don't ban him. We're not going to ban him. He's fine.
He's fine to say what he wants, but it's like just listen to what we're saying. Don't complain. The big thing that's annoying is don't come here and complain about us talking about the trade deadline on trade deadline day. Like, how long are we going to talk about it? It's annoying. That's the only thing that like annoyed me is people coming here saying it's trade deadline day. I agree with Eric on that. You're not being personally disrespectful, but like, dude, we're gonna talk about the trade deadline on trade deadline day because it has a huge effect on the future of this franchise. Much more of an effect on the future of this franchise than winning this game tonight.
Okay, guys, Jason Jensen, what are we dead set on assuming without knowing? What please explain this to me.
Maybe he's talking about other people. I'm not sure.
No. He's been saying the same thing.
I mean, just
Flo,
talk to.
You keep saying like yes or answer me, and I don't understand what you're saying. What your point is? Please,
I mean,
let us know what you're actually trying to ask or say. And same with you, Jason Jensen. Please.
Yeah, I mean, like. They're dead set on assuming without knowing. That doesn't make any sense. Like, what? Explain that, please. Trade for anyone, no idea who or how. What are you talking about? I don't understand what he's talking about. So I want to see what Jason Jensen is talking about here. Because I've literally brought up every point that could possibly be made against us and said why it doesn't apply. So he's probably going to bring up one of those, and then I'll respond to it again.
Okay. Let me respond to Flo. So Flo asked, I asked you who did you all want to get for Whiteside that makes us a contender? I just got done saying I understand if you didn't want to go that route, which they didn't, but don't. Like, so they didn't trade Whiteside. Fine. They want to keep Whiteside. We agree. Okay, they kept Whiteside. Fine. Why didn't they make a small move to help Whiteside and this team and Dame playing at a nuclear level to win this year? Why wouldn't they be interested in that?
Mm-hmm.
If the point is this team is good enough this year to really challenge and could be the most dangerous 8 seed of all time. But you're not answering the question. You're accusing us of not. I mean, we've talked for what
I think he's pretty new to
February,
channel, so he hasn't like heard it before, you know. But yeah, we have talked about it all year.
It's been like 4 months. We've given countless suggestions. We've gone through every roster of every team basically.
Yeah.
We have a whole streams of trade ideas.
He's asking, okay, but who do you want? That's all I've been asking. If we move Whiteside for who? I didn't want. I wasn't in the mindset that like, oh, we got to trade somebody to contend this year. We're probably going to be the 8th seed, and there wasn't really a win now trade this year. I wanted the flexibility in the assets to be in a better position to make a win now trade this offseason or next year, because the problem is we can't trade Whiteside this offseason. We can't trade Rodney Hood before he accepts his player option, and if we trade Rodney Hood, we have to guarantee Ariza, and that would only match $22 million or so. So, we wouldn't be able to match a player higher than that unless we threw more players onto the pile and then we're gutting our team. So we don't. Ariza's like the only contract outside of our big three that can match anything, but it's going to be hard to match salary for a guy making $25 million this offseason. So if somebody does become available that we might be willing to trade a couple first-round picks for and could actually take us to contention, we're not going to have the flexibility or the salary to match that player's salary in order to make a trade, because that player's probably going to be making $25 million. That's the problem. And then next year, if we re-sign Whiteside, obviously if he walks, he's not going to be a trade asset for us next season at next year's trade deadline. But if we re-sign him to a 1-year deal, he has a no trade clause. If we re-sign him to a multi-year deal, then a team probably doesn't want to take that on. So then we're kind of stuck in the same position where outside of our big three, we got Ariza as an expiring contract. Okay, that's $13 million. That can match like $16 million or so. And then we maybe have whoever we sign for the mid-level exception, but whoever we sign for the mid-level exception would probably be on a multi-year contract. Who knows if teams would want that contract back, because the thing is, the 2021 free agency class is a great free agency class. So next year, teams are going to want expiring contracts much more than they wanted this year, and they're going to be a team here or there that's willing to give up a good player to shed salary to have cap space next year. We saw it last year at the trade deadline with Tobias Harris, Kristaps Porzingis, multiple players being traded out just for like picks and expiring contracts. That could, like, we could, if we had expiring contracts last year, we could have traded a couple picks and gotten Kristaps Porzingis. You know what I mean? Like, could have done the same with Tobias Harris. There will be opportunities like that next year. But right now, I'm looking at it. Outside of our big three, the only expiring contract we're going to have that's over $6 million is Trevor Ariza's $13 million. So it's going to be hard to match that salary. We might be in a position where we don't make a trade for an upgrade that could actually help us contend because we don't have the expiring contracts to match. So that's what I wanted us to do this trade deadline, was trade Whiteside, maybe get a couple second-round picks and get back a 2-year contract, maybe even I would have done Whiteside for Nick Batum and a couple second-round picks. Charlotte has an early second-round pick this year, could have maybe gotten that. And then Batum would be a $25 million expiring contract this offseason that we could use to match salary, or next season that we could use to match salary in a trade for a legitimate upgrade that would take us to contention instead of just hanging on to a center who's going to be a backup next year. So that's what I wanted. And we didn't do that. Like, I don't think Olshey has that level of foresight or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was asked, or I was told that I would accept a trade for a piece of crap for Whiteside if I had my way. And I said, yes, I would, as long as that piece of crap had a contract for next year.
And I would have tried to get back, like, either, like a Gorgie Jang, we could have traded, I can all but guarantee you, we could have traded Whiteside and Swanigan for Gorgie Jang, who got traded to the Grizzlies, and Dion Waiters, who got traded to the Grizzlies. Like, could have jumped in on that deal, because the Grizzlies have 3 good bigs better than Gorgie Jang. They don't value him. And Dion Waiters probably isn't going to play for them. Those guys are on bad 2-year contracts. We could have attached Swanigan to Whiteside and gotten back like Waiters and Gorgie Jang. Jang could have been the backup center behind Nurkic, or the replacement center for Whiteside. Jang isn't bad. He's actually a serviceable role player, so he could have been the big that replaces Whiteside. Could have been a backup big next year behind Nurkic, and he'd be a lot better being a backup big instead of Whiteside. Whiteside's probably going to have problems being a backup center. So, and then those guys are expiring contracts this offseason, $15 million and $12 million, that we could trade out to get players back. The thing is, if we traded Whiteside with Swanigan for something like Jang and Waiters, we would have saved money. We still could have dumped Scal. We would have saved more money than if we just dumped Scal, because we would have saved money by trading Whiteside and Swanigan for Waiters and Jang. We could have maybe gotten a second-round pick back for taking on Waiters and Jang, since they're on bad 2-year contracts, and we'd be giving the Grizzlies $27 million of cap relief this summer. So So that's I guess that's what Flo was asking for. That's it's a complicated thing. But we weren't like looking to get a upgrade or try and become a contender this year. We're looking at the 8th seed. It's going to be a very tough task to really make a run. So I'm looking at it. I want to make a big win now, trade up next year so that we can make a run next year. That's the mindset I'm in.
Oh, and Clays brings up a good point that I'd like to amend my piece of crap statement as long as it has a second year of his contract. It would have been great if it was $4 million less than Whiteside, because then we would have avoided the luxury tax in addition to keeping that flexibility next year. And that would have been perfect.
Had more flexibility, would have gotten under the tax for Jody. Like, I understand that was a thing. Maybe could have kept Scal next year. And wouldn't have had to give up on him. You know what I mean? But Olshey didn't know what was out there because he didn't field any offers, didn't do his due diligence, didn't try. Which says to me, okay, he wants to keep Whiteside so that we can make a run this year, but then he won't go and use the extra roster spot to try and get an upgrade out of position. So that doesn't make any sense either. Like, why would we half-ass try and, keep it together so that we can go for it this year at the expense of next year when we're not even willing to spend $1 million to bring in a guy in the last roster spot? Doesn't make sense.
Eric Bouchard. So technically he's correct. During next season, if Ariza his non-guarantee is picked up and Hood picks up his player option, we would have those two expiring contracts next year in a trade. But what Tori's point earlier was that their date to accept that is after the draft. So like during the draft, we wouldn't be able to trade them basically.
We can
unless
guarantee
they agree ahead of time.
Ariza's contract early and trade him, but like Hood might accept his player option by then, but it is tough. You know what I mean? And you're trading 2 small forwards. Like it'd be nice to have a contract like a Jang, a $16 million. If we're trading for a player making $21 million or $20 million, we could just trade Jang at the draft and keep Ariza and Hood, compared to having to trade both Ariza and Hood to bring in a player making $21 million.
And here's my point. We want a rotation of Hood, Ariza, and whatever guy we bring in. If we're trading Hood and Ariza, then we have no wings except for whatever wing we traded for. But in this scenario, we trade our bad contract as the expiring that we got for Whiteside this year, and then we have all 3 of those guys. Ariza can play the 3 or the 4, Hood can play the 2 or the 3, and then whatever wing we get could possibly play multiple positions or one position, whatever. But we have then a championship roster. If we're trading Hood and Ariza for one player that's maybe as good as those two, like, unless it's a superstar, that's not changing the direction of the franchise. What if we could trade a Batum next year for, like if Otto Porter Jr. was healthy or something, and then we had Otto Porter Jr., Hood, and Ariza all switchable on defense. We could play big lineups with three huge wings, like the stuff that our team has never been able to do in the past. And we can kind of start to push CJ out of there if he's becoming a problem. At the end of games, if we're up by like 6 and we don't need offense, we could have defensive lineups. And this is that's also my point. So he's saying any reliance on Hood whatsoever is a major mistake. Well, first of all, you don't know if the guy's toast or whatever. But if he's like the 3rd wing in that equation, then fine. Like, we're not relying on him that much. But if he can give us anything towards the end of the season, then great. But
he can't give us anything if he's not on the roster. You know what I mean? Like, if we have to trade both him and Ariza, then we don't even have the opportunity for Hood to provide us anything. So that's the problem. Dro, $2 donation. Can we get a free agent this year? We'll talk about that another time. Appreciate the donation, though. M. Sotelo, 503, $2 donation. Let's breathe. It's been a long day. I'm breathing, but also got going on this. What were you going to say?
For those who are talking about free agency, everything we just talked about, and we'd still have the same amount of cap space because we'd have the MLE. Which is about equal to the roughly the cap space once we factor in holds and our draft picks and all that
let's
stuff.
say Otto Porter gets healthy. He could be a perfect forward for us, right? And he's available on draft day for like a second round pick or something, or maybe just for expiring contracts. Maybe he doesn't want to be there out. Oh, and Chicago's just like, oh, we just want expired contracts and a second round pick. I don't know. We can't get him. You know what I mean? On draft day, Hood Price still hasn't accepted his player option yet. Even if he has Ariza and Hood, that's only $18 million outgoing. We'd still have to trade out like another $4.5 million. So it'd have to be like Collins or Little or Simons or Trent. We'd have to give up one of our like prospects, which we'd want to keep. And it put us in a position where if we wanted to go out and take advantage of a guy like Otto Porter, and it could be a different player, a player you like more, I don't know, Otto Porter, I'm just using him as an example, where, all we'd have to do is give up a second round pick. No, to get him, we'd have to trade one of our prospects. Maybe even two in order to get him. So, like, it doesn't make sense to go out and get him at that point. So, basically, we gave up a chance to make an upgrade because we didn't do anything at the deadline. And we don't have the contracts to trade for a legitimate upgrade. And the thing is, we could add Porter to Ariza, which they would mesh perfectly, and we could keep Hood if we had, like I said, Jang and Waiters or something like that. But no, we'd have to trade Ariza and Hood and somebody else.
Yeah, Dro, so that's why we're so mad, is because if they chose the direction for winning this season or for letting the team compete this season, we think they should sign someone with that extra roster spot. But Olshey emphatically said no to that. And no, it's not about Nurk or Whiteside being able to shoot the three. They could both shoot the three, and there's ways to make it work on offense, but it would be a disaster on defense in the Dame and CJ era. Like, we would get destroyed. You think our defense is bad?
You guys think Melo is a bad defender at power forward? The reason Melo's a bad defender at power forward is because he's not mobile. People don't post him up and take advantage of him. He's just not mobile. You put Nurkic or Whiteside out there at power forward, they're just as immobile. They're going to be just as bad defensively.
And I got to ask Jason Jensen something. Okay, so we're happy we won. I'm glad we won. I'm going to be rooting for this team to win this year. I hope they get the 8 seed. I hope they kick the crap out of the Lakers and upset them in the first round. And then I hope they will go all the way and win the finals. Yes, great. That does not make you mad that they're not willing to sign someone that could potentially help them do that? That doesn't aggravate you as someone who has all year said that once this team is healthy, still is a chance. Even today, you agree that they still have a chance to do something this year, yet you're not a little bit perturbed by the fact that they won't do anything to help this team. They just got to figure it out on their own.
They won't even use the last roster spot for buyout candidate or anything. That's what I meant by every Blazer fan should be frustrated with Olshey in some sort of way. Nope, because we don't know the circumstances beyond what we assume. We know that Olshey won't go out and use that final roster spot. I mean, maybe Jody wouldn't let him, but...
Okay, no, Jason, come on, man. You keep saying we don't know what we don't know, and we can't assume. What is your point? What are you talking about? That we don't know for sure that they won't use that roster spot, or we don't know who is possibly available?
It's whenever you make a good point to people, and they don't really know how to debate it, they'll just say well, we don't know, so we can't say anything. You know what I mean? It's just shut it down. Don't insult anybody in chat. Jason Jensen is a regular and he's a cool person. We just disagree with him, so don't insult him. Don't say anything. Don't say anything mean. We're not trying to be disrespectful. We're heated. We're passionate about this. We're opinionated.
Yeah. Even Flo's backing us up.
Yeah.
You can say what? What, Jason? What are you trying to say? You keep doing these vague points.
Don't yell at him that loud. I know you're frustrated.
I'm just saying. I already asked him to stop being vague and type out what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Getting this upset is insane. No, we want to see this team win a championship, and we're a directionless franchise that's not being ran the right way right now by our GM. So it's frustrating. And being upset about that is not insane, because that just shows the real fans are the ones that are going to be I'm not saying that if you're not upset about this that you're not a real fan, but whoever's
Yeah, don't say
that's
that.
not what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I just didn't want it to be interpreted like that. I got to figure out how to phrase this. The people that are really upset about this, they're not going to be anything but real fans, because if you're not a real, like, if you get this upset, it's because you care. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not insane to be this upset. It just shows that people are opinionated and are frustrated because they really want to see this team win a championship or contend for a championship. And in their belief, is Dame's prime's being wasted by Olshey, and they're not doing what it takes to go out there and give him the best chance to win a championship over the next 2 to 3 years. So, yeah, that's upsetting. As a diehard Blazer fan, that's really upsetting. So, it's not insane. Shout out to the $5 donation from Kyle Wilson. Sorry, I got to thank the donors. We were mad because the only thing we did was trade Swanigan and 2 second-round picks for Swanigan. And no, it's not a typo. I don't know if it's exactly like that, but I mean, but Dro $2 donation. Olshey is a whole B. Darren Collison is nice. It's just like 2 completely separate things. But thank you guys for the donations. I appreciate it.
Okay, Jason Jensen, I'm going to try to be calm.
Yeah, you little fired up.
You say, I'm just not upset, that's all. But at the same time, you keep accusing us of not knowing stuff and assuming things. But you're being so vague. What do we not know and what are we assuming? Can you please be specific with what your gripes are?
That's the thing, man. Is like you can disagree with us, but like the problem is I feel like you're kind of trying to be vague, so I don't know, so that it's not a conversation at all. Because like we'll have a conversation about it. Like I want to know what you think, but instead you're sitting here like, oh, we just don't know anything, so we can't talk about it. And being upset is insane. Like that's what you're saying right now. So people on this chat last month said free Scal. Well, you did it, people. He's free now. Money. But no, don't say he doesn't know what he's talking about. Nobody should be saying that. Like he's I don't know. It's like, I mean, I think he might have left, to be honest. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's just saying this is all speculation, but it's not, because we know
it's not. We're taking it directly from Olshey's mouth, and every move they've made this season backs up what he said.
Like, we know enough to know like what is happening. Like, we know the CBA, we know like roster construction, we know what we're seeing. You know what I mean? And then he's also adding further context to the situation by doing an interview. You know what I mean? We just reacted to that. We just listened to exactly what he said. So we have enough to be able to formulate an opinion. I think what made Eric upset was that Jason Jensen was basically saying like, no, you can't have an opinion. Like you don't know what's happening, so you can't have an opinion. Like that was the vibe of it. And and today's been frustrating, so kind of, emotions are high. It just kind of screwed the pooch today. Olshey did, in my opinion. So it's just frustrating, man. We want to see this team win a championship. That's what I think, and that's what everybody wants. Yeah.
Clay said, I think he means we don't know what the options are, and we assume that all these other organizations want to help us get into the tax or a deal that could be easy if he was creative. I never said it was easy. And second of all, I conceded that we went the competing this year route. That's fine. But why then do we not use that? Why are we not allowing this team to compete? And that's not us not knowing anything or assuming anything. That's directly from Olshey's mouth. No, we are not doing that. Yeah. That is not going to happen. We would not have traded Scal today if that was an option. It is not happening. End of story.
I just come back to this, though, in response to that. Olshey doesn't know what was out there either, because apparently he didn't do his due diligence to see what was out there, which I have a problem with. You have to put your options on the table, and he didn't even show up to the table. So that's like a big problem that I have. He didn't do his due diligence and see what his options are. But the thing is, people say that year after year after year after year after year after year. Like it's year after year after year. Eric's been as defensive for Olshey, in support of Olshey, as like anybody who like knows the game of basketball that I've seen, that knows the CBA, knows the game of basketball. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of made me a little bit less critical of Olshey in the past. Like, he's been super defensive of Olshey. Eric is not an Olshey hater at all. He's not like, and the thing is, Eric knows CBA, he knows roster construction, he knows his stuff. You know what I mean? So it's his honest opinion based off a wealth of, a vast wealth of knowledge, and it's not biased against Olshey or anything like that.
And how many things have we been right about all year?
Quite a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like, we were breaking down trades and giving reasons why there was happen, why this team would do this, why this team would do that. What I even said earlier today that, watch, we traded Scal just to save money. We won't use that roster spot. And that's what he said. Brett is saying we can't possibly know that he didn't entertain offers. He told us he did not. He would not take calls about Whiteside.
He literally said it.
He said that the whole trading Whiteside was never on the table, and that it was just some made up thing by people out there, that he never had any intention of trading him. So like, you can't. That's
the thing is, everybody.
I'm just using his words.
Everybody rushes to his defense with like, you don't know what he did, what he didn't do, whatever. It's like, he literally said it, man. People are just so quick to like make excuses for him. And I was defending Olshey against some stuff that I thought was unfair, like criticisms of him last night. There was fans saying, if he doesn't make a big win now trade at this trade deadline, I'll be pissed. That's not why I'm mad, because there wasn't really a big win now trade out there right now. You had a lot of role players getting traded. There was not a big win now trade available. There was no Tobias Harris or Kristaps Porzingis or anything like that. So I was defending Neil against those critiques, saying he needs to go make a big win out trade because there wasn't anything out there. My critique is based off not setting ourselves up to make that type of move in the future.
Let me just get to this so he stops spamming it. Eric Bouchard keeps saying that they saved a little money today, and if they make the playoffs, they get obviously the playoff money from having at least 2 home games, right? So, okay, let's just say that was the case, right? They're like, oh, we saved $2 million here, and then we get, well, let's say they make $2 million for every home game or something. So that's $4 million that they would get if they went for the playoffs. But improving the roster this year or going for it could get you more than 2 playoff games and not get swept.
Exactly.
Like, that could be the difference between having 3 series into the Western Conference Finals or not having any. And Olshey said it's been this way for weeks, that, or a month, he might have said, that they were going to cut salary and not worry about making the team better this year. So, like, why not? Like, what happened before that? Why weren't you trying to make moves before that? You decided to cut tax to make this team better, or to add. Like, we literally had days this year where Whiteside didn't play in a game, and we had Tolliver as our only player 6'8" or bigger, yet we didn't sign someone to a 10-day contract, or we didn't have Moses Brown up that game. And I'm not saying Moses Brown would have done differently.
But I mean, when Anthony Tolliver is like your only center, and he's not even a center, and he's 6'8" and doesn't get off the ground, yeah, you should probably, if you're trying to get some playoff money from having home playoff games, you should probably make a move earlier in the season so you don't get screwed over by Anthony Tolliver playing start center.
Yeah, and Clay says, yeah, he probably did take offers, but couldn't get a deal done, and he's saving face. I get that. That's fine.
He doesn't need to say anything. You know what I mean? Like,
all he has to say is, we wanted to keep Whiteside. You don't have to then say, oh, we were never going to trade Whiteside. That was you guys.
You could save face by saying. We didn't find anything that we felt was worth giving up Hassan Whiteside. We valued him more than other teams. You know what I mean? Like, that's enough. You know what I'm saying? Whiteside knows it's a business. Like, I think Whiteside would kind of understand the situation. You know what I mean? Like, he could spurn us in free agency even if we saves face. But Olshey could have worded it in a way where it wasn't like basically saying, yeah, we didn't try at all. Because the thing is, he's in the past, he's said there was nothing that materialized that we wanted. You know what I mean? But he hasn't said, oh, we just didn't even, like, try. You know what I mean? So that tells me that he didn't even try.
Here's what happened. They can't trade Whiteside for because I worked out the math, right? After trading Scal, we could have gotten involved in the Memphis-Miami trade and taken Dion Waiters, who Memphis is going to waive next year, right? They're going to flat out waive him, even though he has money on his contract next year. So they're going to have a ton of dead money on their books next year and not even be able to trade it because they're buying him out. So we could have gotten him, right? It's barely. I'm not trying to assume there, right? That's not
it's just basic common sense. You know what I mean? It's literally basic common sense. There's no reason why
if they bought
him
out, they would have had no problem sending him.
Why would they owe him $12 million buying him out when they could trade him for an expiring and owe him nothing, and then the expiring expires? It's literally common sense.
Yes. And then Solomon Hill is not going to play on Miami, right? No. Probably not. So that was just thrown in to make the money work, right? So you get back Solomon Hill and Dion Waiters for Whiteside, right? Do you know how much money that would have saved?
Saved $5 million.
$4 million. $4 million. Do you know how far over the luxury tax we are?
After the Scout trade?
Just under
$4 million.
Yes.
Yeah. So if the money was really that important.
That is a trade I'm not even trying to assume anything. That is, both teams would do that, and they could have figured out a different player or something to go to a different team. But that's not assuming anything. That's just based on players that are going to get waived or aren't even a part of why those teams made the trade. And we could have made it work somehow and got under the luxury tax. But he can't say that. Or he couldn't make that trade today. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do that to Dame because then he couldn't justify, we're playing so good lately, we have to keep this roster together and see what it can do for Dame. Because he couldn't say that then. He would be like, oh, no, it's strictly financial. I'm sorry, Dame, but we had to, get under the luxury tax. So he didn't even try to get under the luxury tax using Whiteside because we couldn't trade Whiteside because he's our only center. But, he wasn't even willing to be creative or think about stuff or ways to do that. And that's fine. And if you wanted to keep Whiteside, that's fine. But then your objective can't be to cut luxury tax or whatever and save a few $1 million because that's contradictory. It's just not.
It's almost like they're trying to play it in the middle, and it's just not doing enough in any one category.
That's the worst possible.
In any way whatsoever. And we're talking about a billionaire. Oh, well, maybe wanted to compete but save, $1 million and get a couple home playoff games to make. She's a billionaire. She's fine. She wants to save a little bit of money, but it's okay, if she really wants to compete, then she wouldn't be caring about $1 million. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't logically make sense. Nothing about this logically makes sense.
Brett Wagner asks, would you have been happy if we traded Whiteside and got back exactly what Detroit got for Drummond? I would have been fine.
If it was expiring in a second-round pick that bad, I wouldn't. If we saved money, I would have kind of understood it in a way. I don't know. But I wouldn't have been happy because it would have been expiring contracts. I want 2-year contracts so we could trade them this summer and trade them next year, which are available. So I would have been upset because there would have been 2-year contracts that were available that we could have gotten a second-round pick for instead of just taking.
But here's the deal. I've already mentioned this. The reason why Detroit wasn't willing to take on long-term money, so they got a weak second-round pick. But if both Henson and who was the other player in that trade? Brandon Knight. If both those players had a second year on their contract, there's no way Detroit would have accepted that deal for 1 second round pick. They wouldn't have taken on all that money. So that it was only because they were expiring that they got rid of that. So if we were willing to take on a salary next year, which we both agree would help our flexibility, and then we would have gotten at least, like you said, the second-round pick from Charlotte.
Picks,
or
which help us make a Ariza and Rodney Hood type trades. And we would have had contracts to trade this offseason and next year. We would have been in a much, much better position. It wouldn't be... But no, we're sacrificing that to try and make some noise as an 8th seed against the Los Angeles Lakers. But we're not even willing to use the last roster spot to, like, maybe give us a little better chance of that because of $1 million. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
And if we did a trade like the Drummond trade today and it got us out of the luxury tax completely, that would just be a harsh reality, and I would not like that. But at the end of the day, I would be like, at least they accomplished their goal. They had a goal to get out of luxury tax, and they did it. No matter how much it effed up the situation this year or whatever, Jody wanted to save money, and they did that. Olshey today, he had to pay them almost $2 million just to take Scal away from us. So we didn't even save that much money. It was like less than $2 million that we saved in this trade. So like that's not saving Jody that much money. That's like us going and taking a bag full of cans back to the grocery store and getting $2 and like that's the equivalent for us. Like so like just accomplish that. If that was your goal, then you failed. If he said Jody asked him to save money, he did not do that. He saved $2 million. That is nothing in the NBA. That is nothing. It's not. You didn't even do anything. You had to pay someone to take a player to get that.
That was a serviceable player that you probably could have re-signed on a cheaper deal like a $4 or $5 million a year deal. It could have been a serviceable backup. Like, he was a solid player, and he's young, and he's still growing as a player, and he could have been had cheap for maybe a couple of years. The type of contract that, like, if you throw him into a trade, he's young, and if he's cheap, like, a rebuilding team would probably want him back, so he could help you match some salary, maybe. Like, but no, we got to save $1.5 million or $2 million or whatever, and not even get under the luxury tax. But we still got to try and contend. But you know, we can't spend $1 million, $1.5 million to use that last roster spot and.
Well, it wouldn't even be that. You can sign someone for like the rest of the season contracts now. It's like $600,000 or something, even for like the top, whatever the maximum minimum level player is. But yeah. So okay, fine. You couldn't get out of the luxury tax, but you saved $2 million to not make this team better and to not make future assets better or anything. So like what? What are we doing? I don't know. What?
Yeah. Brett Brackman, Scout can play the 4 though, so maybe you'd have Collins and Scout at the 4, and I mean, I don't know. Like it would. I don't know. Like if you're gonna go big at the 4 position with guys that can play the 4 but are big, provide some rim protection, maybe some outside shooting, Scout and Collins, they would have kind of been the same type of player at the 4, and then you would have had the same type of player at the 5. So you'd have like consistency at those positions, I guess. Like I don't know. I think Scal's better option at the 4 next year than Melo. I don't know. Eric about to start breaking stuff.
Chat's gonna start charging me for therapy.
Eric, I don't know if Eric would be reacting like this if he had his camera on, like quite this emotionally.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, any way you slice it, Olshey failed. He failed.
You know,
he didn't cut luxury tax.
Yeah.
He didn't make the team better. He has no additional future assets than he did a few weeks ago. What's the point? And to everyone in chat, the NBA is not going to move the team out of Portland. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. Like it's
not like somebody could just buy it and say like, okay, I'm going to move it to the moon, and the NBA is just like, okay, go ahead. Like it's not that simple.
Okay. I got to turn my TV is on mute, but Olshey's stupid face during that interview just came up.
It's going to trigger you even more. No, I tweeted this out too because this is another thing that drives me crazy about this. So Neil Olshey took on Anderson Varejão's contract in 2015, waived him and stretched him out over 5 years, which means that Anderson Varejão's contract has $1.9 million of dead money. against our salary cap for the last 3 years, this year and next year, right? For taking on Anderson Varejão's contract, we got a future Cleveland first-round pick. That Cleveland first-round pick turned into Caleb Swanigan. Who do we trade Caleb Swanigan for? Skal Labissière. Today, with the $1.9 million charge on the cap that basically we took on in order to get Skal Labissière, we just paid to give away Skal Labissière to save less than that $1.9 million. That's so incompetent. Like, think about that. Like, it does. Like, it doesn't. That's so ridiculous. And we still owe Varejão $1.9 million next year too. So, if we try and use the full mid-level exception and maybe make a sign and trade or something, I don't know. That could be the difference.
And how many more years do we owe Nicholson? Still like
that's just
3 or 4 more years.
Paying Crabbe, and then he made a good decision getting out from Crabbe, I guess. I mean, like, now it wouldn't have really mattered, but still, man. But Eric Bouchard, if he's still in here, how are we gonna make a win now trade next year? That's what I want to know for anybody like defending Olshey or whatnot, because this team needs a big trade next year in order to contend. I know some people say this team can be good, whatever. But this team can contend, whatever. I think it needs like a legitimate forward upgrade, like a Porzingis type of player. Porzingis has struggled this year, but like Porzingis before his injury, or like at the very least, a Tobias Harris player, or maybe an Otto Porter if he could get healthy and get back on track, just because he's a perfect fit. We need something. So how are we going to do that?
And guys, if Olshey wasn't even willing to take offers on Whiteside, he's never trading CJ.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
I'm never
not
discussing it.
Him and Dame are here. Dame. As long as Olshey is the GM, Stotts will be the coach. CJ and Dame will be our backcourt. There's no debate about that. It's set in stone. Like, there's no way that's ever going to change.
I mean, Trent looked great tonight, and his defense has been impressive. I could see Trent becoming a player that would make CJ expendable. If you could go get like a Karl-Anthony Towns, like, I don't know, Karl-Anthony Towns would have to play power forward, but just like a player that level, like by giving up CJ in a 3-team trade. A team wants CJ, that gives up some picks, and then we add on more picks on top of that to get back like a Karl-Anthony Towns. That trade could make sense. I mean, if Trent continues to develop well, that trade could make sense next year. Trent just has like a 3-and-D guy would be could be a better fit, help our defense a little more. Like, I'm encouraged by Trent. He still needs to take some steps before he's ready to do that. We haven't seen enough of him yet, but like that could be a deal that makes sense in the future and like be what's needed in order for us to contend. But Olshey won't do that. He doesn't do whatever it takes in order to get us in a position to contend. He doesn't do it.
This just made me laugh. So, how we were talking about getting expiring contracts? Like, let's just say it's Dion Waiters and Solomon Hill or whatever. So I got asked, well, wouldn't getting those kind of guys just ruin the development of the young guys this year and just destroy any chance we have of developing those guys? We have a 36-year-old Melo and a 34-year-old Ariza playing over 30 minutes a game right now instead of those guys. It's not like we're playing all young guys right now and we're struggling because we're giving so many minutes to developmental guys. We're giving plenty of... Simons is averaging like 22 minutes a game, and those guys, wouldn't be guaranteed to play. Although under Stotts, they probably would play.
You know what I mean? Like you get those guys. If Stotts started playing Solomon Hill over Nasir Little, like if I'm Olshey, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Like that would be on Stotts, not Olshey. Because common sense.
Eric Bouchard, I agree with you. If Minnesota's trading Cat, they're not going to want CJ because he's like 4 or 5 years older, and he's but like there are situations like, say, the Orlando Magic would probably be a great spot for him where he'd be like a playmaker.
That's why I said
stuff
a
like
3-team trade too. I don't understand why he didn't hear that. Like I said, 3-team trade. And it's like a Karl Anthony Towns
And
level
it's
player. So let's just say we trade CJ to a team like Orlando who would give up maybe 2 first-round picks for him. Then you include that in the package for a star player, and CJ would be like the salary to match that star player in a 3-team trade. And you'd get back assets for CJ that you could pile on to get enough to acquire that star-level player.
and Cat's probably happy now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I
that
was
they
just
got
like using
D'Angelo
him as an
Russell, but-
example because that was a name that came up recently. Just
Yeah.
like that level of player,
Yeah.
if he becomes available next year, because we don't know who's going to become available, who develops, like,
I mean, if Trent became like a consistent scorer, and was, I mean, he's already solid enough on defense to probably be better than CJ on defense. Then you start talking about the Tobias Harris type situation would make more sense. But as of right now, like just trading CJ for Tobias Harris just moves like a volume scorer from one position to another and doesn't really alter the direction of the franchise that much. Because Tobias Harris is, I mean, he's an okay defender, but he's not good enough to be like we need like a lockdown defender who can hit threes on this team. I mean, you see how good Ariza makes this
not
team,
that
and
good,
he's
man. But he look how much different we look.
he's smart.
Yeah, he's smart. But like,
yeah.
imagine that, just like somebody who's better at like defense, 3-point shooting, ball handling. Like Otto Porter is like Trevor Ariza on steroids. You know what I mean? With like just 40%, 41% 3-point shooter instead of 35%. Better inside the arc, a little better ball handler, little better playmaker. And when he's engaged, like he's just as good of a defender in my opinion. So that's the thing. That's why we need those types of players. That's why I wasn't on board with like Wiggins or Love or guys like that. We need 3-and-D players. We need like I don't know, man. We need to get guys like that. I mean, we could have maybe made a play for Whiteside if we were willing to give up like I don't know, what did Minnesota get back? They got expirings and what did they get back in that trade, and what did they send out? I mean, like, maybe we could have made a push for Covington. I don't know.
William, good night, man. Thanks for listening all day, pretty much. Well, they got Evan Turner
So expiring.
and Malik Beasley and Hernan Gomez and one of the first round picks in that trade. But yeah, they traded Jang for James Johnson today, so like they obviously didn't want him.
Yeah.
I still don't understand that trade, but you got to think Covington and Jang and like our pick with very little protection might have gotten that done.
Yeah, and Jang would have been the center replacement. We would have been a better team this year. We would have had more flexibility to make a move in the future. We would have, could have tossed in like Swanigan there and saved just as much money as we did at this deadline and kept Scow. But like O'Shea, to his own admission, didn't see what was out there for Whiteside, so he probably didn't even, try and see if that was a possibility. So,
well, that's the other part of that guy who was saying we're not developing players. Well, we just gave away a development player for free too. Like, if you're in Neil's position first day of the next offseason, what move are you making? Well, that's the problem. We just screwed ourselves, so we can't really make moves. Yeah. I'm doing everything I can in the draft to get Obi Toppin because I think he's one of the few players that has the ability to be a rotation player like really soon. And he fits a need. Avdija I don't know how ready he is to play, but he'd be another one that I think could come in and help us on the wing. But we basically need to hit a home run on our first round pick and sign someone with our mid-level exception or cap space or whatever we end up having. That's like just good enough to like be a sixth or seventh man. Someone like Derrick Rose signing with Detroit last year. I'm not saying Derrick Rose is a free agent this year, but like someone to that level, signing for the mid level. But
Eric, the problem is like Olshey didn't know the price for Otto Porter. That's the problem I have with that. Yeah, the Bulls might have asked for too much, but Olshey didn't go out and do his due diligence.
And yeah, the Bulls didn't make any moves today. You're telling me they didn't want to like cut salary next year or do anything. They just want to keep that same team next year. Yeah. And no, we're not going to have a chance for Obi Toppin. I'm just saying um, like we need to find a way to move up to get one of those type of guys, or if we don't make the playoffs, get lucky. But that's the thing. Like you say, we're competing for the playoffs and we're just trying to get an eighth spot. Like, what if we don't even make the playoffs? What if we get the ninth seed and we finish with the 14th record? Don't move up in the lottery. So not only do we keep Whiteside and then he bounces in the offseason, we don't get any cap room because, like I said, it's just about the same as we would have had with the mid-level exception. And this isn't like that unrealistic,
It's
right?
not.
So like,
It's not.
so we could get the ninth seed. We could finish with the 14th pick. Obi Toppin and Abdija would be long gone. We try to move up, but no one wants any of our crap to move up. And then, Whiteside gets like a $20 million offer
New
from
York or
like
Charlotte,
Charlotte or New York just to be the starting center, and he doesn't have to worry about splitting time. And we're offering him like $10 million a year, and he's like, "Screw this, I'm out." And then we're stuck with no Whiteside, the 14th pick, and the mid-level exception, and we're supposed to like somehow turn that into a contending roster just because we get our starting lineup back minus Hood, who won't even be ready to play most of next year. And like, yeah, this is like that's not that unrealistic. Like that all could happen.
I mean, that's kind of the worst case scenario. That would suck. I mean, honestly, like this summer we're not gonna do much of anything except try and keep Whiteside, and then maybe use somebody with the mid-level.
Melo could sign with like LA or something and be
gone.
Melo,
I don't know, but like we're not gonna make a big win now trade. It's not gonna happen. I can all be guaranteed that. We just don't have the pieces to, unless we like sign and trade Whiteside. That's just super, super unlikely. Like I give big win now trade 2% chance of happening this summer, if that.
Eric Bouchard, we don't know that. He's saying Hood will be certified garbage
He
next
didn't
year.
rely on athleticism with his game at all, you know. And people have come back from Achilles injuries and been fine. So.
And I just said we can't really count on him next year, especially during the early part of the year. Wes came back within, it was like 6 or 7 months later he was back playing, but he wasn't very effective.
I mean, Hood hurt him. Hood hurt it in December, so the start of the season next year is what, 10 and a half months after Hood's injury? I mean, like, I think he could be fine by 2021, like after the new year, you know what I mean? Which is like when we need him to be fine. But like if we have Trent and Hood, like I'm not worried about Hood. Not worried about Hood at all.
What? Wes was also older, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Wasn't he like 30 when he got, and Hood's what, 26, 27? And Durant right now I just watched footage of him running full sprints and playing football and doing all this stuff.
8
like
months after.
But we're not. I don't know what he's saying. Name them.
I was going. I'm not worried about Hood, man. You can go look it up for yourself, but I don't know. Richard Sherman looked pretty good this year to me. So I mean, I don't know. Don't say, just give him a chance. I'm not worried about him. If he is garbage, hopefully we have the pieces to replace him. Whatever, you know what I mean.
And in our offense, all you have to do is sit in the corner and shoot threes anyway. That's all he was doing
and then
this year.
If he gets run off the 3-point line, take one dribble and shoot a mid-range pull-up. That's all Rodney Hood was doing. He's still going to be able to do that. So, but I guess like my hope is we sign Whiteside to like a like outside of like a miracle sign and trade, like my kind of realistic hope, I guess, like we signed Whiteside to a 1 year, $10 million a year contract, and then we signed somebody for the mid-level exception to a 2 year, like around almost $10 million a year contract with a team option. So they're basically like an expiring along with Whiteside, and then Whiteside comes off the bench behind Nurkic, and he's not really happy with that. So, like, he's willing to waive his no-trade clause, and then the guy that we signed for a mid-level exception and Whiteside would add up to, like, $20 million in expiring contracts. Like, that's kind of my hope at this point. But, I mean, who knows? Whiteside probably will want more than just a $10 million a year contract, especially, or, if it's a 1 year deal, he might want more money. If he was gonna accept $10 million a year, he'll probably want more years. Mid-level exception guy might be difficult to get for a 1 year contract. You might put yourself out of the running for some guys if you're only looking at guys for a 1 year contract.
And you can't do sign and trade with a 1 year contract, just to let you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you're saying, but like
I said
if
outside.
we sign and trade for someone,
I said outside of like a miracle sign and trade. Like my realistic hope, is like just to set ourselves up to make a move at the deadline next year. But I just don't have trust in Olshey to set himself up. And then even if he does, I don't have confidence in him to actually execute.
Yeah. You mean like trade Whiteside to Charlotte for Batum in a sign and trade?
What do you mean?
What do you? Is that what you're saying? Trade for someone who has an expiring contract next year?
No, not in a. I've said outside of a miraculous signing trade.
Okay.
I said outside of a signing trade. My like hope for like setting ourselves up to make a win now move, because like a signing trade with the Whiteside could be like a win now move, I guess, but it's super, super, super unlikely. So I'm not really like counting it as a possibility. So my like realistic. I mean, it's not like super realistic, but like kind of my hope is to set ourselves up for a win now move is we get a guy on a mid-level exception on a 2 year contract, but the second year is a team option, so he's basically expiring. That's almost $10 million in salary, and then we re-sign Whiteside for a 1 year deal, 10 to 12 million, 13 million, whatever. And then Whiteside's like not the happiest as a backup center, so he's willing to waive his no trade clause. So then we could actually include him as an expiring contract. It's not likely, especially if we're winning. So like, but like if he did, then that would be like the mid-level exception and Whiteside is expiring contracts. Then we'd have the expiring contracts outside of like Ariza. We could include Ariza and keep Whiteside if that's the case, if the mid-level exception is on an expiring contract. So maybe we'd have some flexibility. It's just like it's tough. You know what I mean? Like Olshey is going to have to try and set himself up, but like he didn't do that today, so I don't have trust in him that he'll do it this offseason.
So this is what Clay's just said something that this is why I have a problem with Whiteside and Nurk as center. So let's say this is his best case scenario and this happens. We sign Whiteside, re-sign him, and then we sign Bertans with the MLE, right? Sweet. We got Davis Bertans, right? So now you're talking about Nurk, only 24 minutes a game. Whiteside only 24 minutes a game.
Or Nurk 28, Whiteside 20,
Yeah, I guess you could rotate it that way. And then you have power forward, so you have Bertans and Collins. So now you can only play them 20 minutes a game or whatever, and then they have no positional flexibility at all. They're stuck. You have two players at power forward, two players at center that can't play other positions. And you can't really rotate them at all.
The only one that could play another position is Collins, but he's not going to get center minutes if you have both Nurkic and Whiteside. Right. There's none available. So those guys would have to average, amongst all of them, only 24 minutes per game when Bertans, Whiteside, and Nurkic all have the ability to play more. We just are just like stuck with a bunch of players playing the same position that can't play, that can't swing to other positions because Collins and Bertans can't play small forward, and Nurkic and Whiteside can't play power forward.
And real quick, Melo State, no trade clause is sometimes the contracts, a player has the right to veto any trade. So like this year, Hood has a no trade clause because if he gets traded, he only signed a 1-year contract plus another year, so he wouldn't have full bird rights. But with Portland, he has more bird rights than he would have on another team.
I think
so.
I think the easier way to explain it is like if you have a player under contract and then they become a free agent, you re-sign them to a 1-year deal. They usually end up with a no trade clause just automatically. Like you can resign them to a multiple year deal and they won't have it, but if you start resign them to a 1-year deal, he will have it.
Or if you match a restricted free agent like we did with Crabbe, he had a no trade clause for a year he couldn't be traded to Brooklyn for that year. But as soon as that year was up, we traded him to Brooklyn.
That doesn't really affect us this offseason though. But
so, and then Commodore was talking about so maybe they have a miracle sign and trade planned as his only hope. And then Melo Stay just brought this up too. So if we convince Whiteside to agree to a trade, he can be traded, right? So it's really a lot more complex like that. So Whiteside would have to agree to sign with whatever team he wanted to go with, work out all the financial details of that, and then we would have to want to have
this offseason if we're talking about a signing trade.
That team would have to have something that Portland would actually want to get back instead of just taking back.
I think he was talking about a no trade clause. So if Whiteside has a no trade clause, then if Whiteside agrees to be traded, then yes, he can be traded. Whiteside has to approve the trade basically if he has a no trade clause and he's involved in it. The problem is if we trade him, if we resign him to a 1-year deal, we'd have his bird rights. If we kept him throughout the 1-year deal and then he became a free agent again, we'd have his bird rights, which means we could resign him for any amount, even if we're over the cap. But if we trade him, the team that gets him all of a sudden doesn't have his bird rights and would have to re-sign him with cap space or mid-level exception. That's actually what happened with Rodney Hood. It's why we couldn't keep Curry or Cantor, is because Rodney Hood was in the same position. He was on a 1-year qualifying offer, which acted as the 1-year deal that instituted the no trade clause, the automatic no trade clause, and then he waived that to come here last year, but it got rid of his bird rights. So then he was basically like a normal free agent this offseason, which is why we had to use the mid-level exception on him instead of like bird rights or something, because we didn't have it. So that's why, if we had Hood's bird rights, we could have signed Hood with bird rights and then used the mid-level exception on Cantor or I don't know, Curry probably wouldn't return, but we would have had the mid-level exception still, but we had to use it on Hood because he was in that situation.
And the other part of the equation is Whiteside's value it'd be a lot easier to trade him if his salary was $12 million versus $27 million this year. But if he gets unhappy again and the situation's not going well with him and Nurk playing with each other, he's going to lose value in a trade because teams are going to start to be like, oh, he just played good last year because it was a contract year. But he was a problem in Miami and now he's a problem in Portland. Why would we want to trade for a problem? And he might have negative trade value in that situation. Even if he isn't expiring, look at Dion Waiters still had another one, but no team really wanted to take that on except for Memphis for some reason. But it's hard to trade those kind of guys that become problems in the locker room. And Denver had to give us a first just to get rid of Nurkic. And you could argue at the time that Plumlee was maybe a better fit for them or whatever, but they still had to give us a first when we might not have needed a first to even make that trade to begin with. But so if he gets a $10 million 1-year contract, it's not like he got paid and lost motivation. I feel like Whiteside was not correctly in Miami's system. But if he gets mad only playing 24 minutes a game and is frustrated that him and Nurk aren't playing together, or they do try playing them together and it's a disaster, then he's going to look bad in those situations. He could be a perfect angel and it could be fine, but then that would justify keeping him so we wouldn't even use his value in a trade. And then, like I said, the positional flexibility is all messed up.
Basically, we're screwed.
And and I forgot who it was, but someone was saying like he's a potential defensive player of the year this year.
Based off stats, not off of actual production. You guys got to watch the way Rudy
But
Gobert defends compared to
well,
Whiteside, man.
the thing is, like, he's putting up like elite numbers. How come he didn't get any votes for the All-Star game by the coaches? How come he didn't like I'm pretty sure he's not going to get any votes for defensive player of the year. We'll see if he even gets a vote for like the defensive all first or second team. Like this is how he's valued around the league by coaches and other organizations. So like if those votes come back for defensive player of the year and he doesn't get a single vote, or it's like one token vote like by a Portland writer or something like that, or like it's possible that all the other teams see him like Miami saw him last year, and Miami fans think of him right now, and that he just doesn't have any value in a trade. But yeah, if he's locked up on a multi-year deal, or he won't accept or waive his no trade clause, there's just too many situations where we can get stuck with him and that situation and not be able to get out of it.
Yep. Fun.
Because the contract year thing is like people. I don't think if you look at his stats, I don't think you can make the claim that his only good year was the year he got paid, and then this year I think he's done fine in other years. But like, that is a thing that people think about him, that he only plays well in contract years, and whether it's true or not, if that's your reputation, that's what people think, you know.
Yeah. Necron99 says Isaac Okoro is our slated mock pick now. He's a do everything guy, plays shooting guard through power forward. Yeah, he also can't shoot. So he'd be a lot like Little, it seems like, just kind of too raw. Can't shoot well enough to get on the floor and like really help the team. Wouldn't it be great if we woke up today to getting Otto Porter Jr. in a trade for Whiteside? I want to live in that timeline. Yeah, I want to live in a timeline where Terry Stotts isn't our coach and Neil Olshey isn't our GM. But we're stuck in this one, so it's what we get. It's what we get, man. And like, I'm a Niner fan, and so is Eric. So we saw like what's happened, changing our GM and our head coach to people that like actually know what the hell they're doing. You know what I mean? And I wish the Blazers would do the same thing. Like people we could have confidence in. That would be insane, man. Like I would look at the organization so differently, like not as like a fan, but just like from trying to analyze the organization. I would look at them so differently if we had like a GM and a coach that I was confident in and I thought did a good job. That would be so weird, though. That would be so weird. Like, imagine like, oh, our GM did a great job today. This is a really good trade. I'm really excited to see what happens. He accomplished this. He accomplished future flexibility. I really think he's going to work well in our coach's system. You know, our coach runs a good system, or, you know what I mean? Like, imagine talking like that, bro. That would be insane. That seems so foreign.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, Brett Wegman says, if Whiteside was a sixth man and in the rotation he came in for Melo and played 3 to 4 minute stretch at the 4 next to Nurk or vice versa, couldn't we run a different defensive scheme to make that work? No. The other teams would just pick and roll Nurk and Whiteside to death, and we'd basically, like if we were playing Houston, we'd end up where every single play Whiteside or Nurk is guarding Harden, or Paul George or LeBron.
We'd have a ton of mismatches, and even then, like, even if it wasn't like a big mismatch, like Whiteside would struggle out to get out to like a perimeter 4 and defend the 3-point line, and we'd give up a ton of threes. Like, just look at Melo's mobility and how it hurts us defensively, and then like put somebody more immobile there, and see what happens. It's not going to work. And the thing is, even if there was a defensive scheme that could somehow mask that, Terry Stotts isn't going to run it. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. He doesn't really switch up his defensive schemes. He's not creative defensively. Like, there's just a lack of creativity from the people in this organization outside of the players. You know what I mean? Like, the GM, the coach, I don't know.
And I don't agree that Thibault would be a better fit, at least not long term. Eric Clays is saying that. I'm sick of guys who can't shoot in this offense. Like, Thibault's shot is broken, and Little shot was broken at the beginning of the year too, but it looks so much better now. It sucks that he got hurt, but yeah, it looks so much smoother, and that gives me faith that he's working his butt off to be the best.
I will say this: Thibault shoots 5 threes per 36 minutes, and he shoots 37.6% on them.
Yeah, I don't like his form, I guess.
Yeah, like his form's broken. Yeah. I mean, but he was drafted ahead of Little. You know what I mean? I wouldn't trade Little for him, to be honest, because I think like Thibault is better now, but Little has more upside.
Yeah, I think Little has the same defensive potential that Thibault is showing now.
Oh, Little could be.
How old is Thibault?
Is turning 23 in a month. On March 4th, he turns 23.
It's like 3 years older.
Yeah, let's see how old's Little. Little, in 5 days, Little turns 20.
Yeah, so over 3 years.
So, basically 3 years.
And that's kind of like the Simons thing. Like, let's see Simons when he's like what Dame and CJ were when they came in the league. Let's see Little when he's Thibault's age.
Like, dude, Little I think has the most other than Zach, like not counting Zach, just talking about like Little, Trent, Simons. I think Little has actually the most potential. I don't know. Like people would say Simons, but the progress Little's made with his shot with just his form, he has like a good rhythm to it. He has a good follow through. Like he just has to get rid of that hitch and maybe get a little bit more arc on his shot. I think he could be a solid shooter. And when you just look at his athleticism at a forward position, his length, his defensive ability already that he's showing as a rookie, which I think is like rookies usually struggle even if they end up being good defenders. I don't know. I feel like 5 years from now, he'll be what we need out of one of the forward positions. Like a guy that can shoot, take guys off the dribble, attack the rim hard. Like he's only 19 years old. So I think, I don't know. It's hard to say he has more potential than Simons, but I think, actually I'd word it like this. I think he has a higher chance of realizing his potential than Simons.
Yeah, I would say out of those four, Simons has the most, or the highest ceiling. I'd say Zach has the lowest floor.
Zach has the lowest floor?
I mean the highest floor, sorry.
Yeah,
I meant like
he is the highest.
He's the least likely to be like terrible out of those four.
I mean, he's already shown stuff on the NBA level.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't include him.
Yeah, but I think it's looking like Trent's probably second highest floor, but probably third highest ceiling. But Zach doesn't have he's just a weird player. He's never going to average like 20 and 10. But he's like one of those guys that's like crucial to winning a game. And like even if he just averages like 13 and 7 or something like that, like he's going to be always a solid. I mean,
I hope Little and Zach and Nurkic can be our front court 5 years from now with all those guys like realizing their true potential. Because like defensively, that could be a terror. You know what I mean? And then, you got Simons as the backup guard at that point still, hopefully, and Trent is like a backup shooting guard, small forward type. Like, I like the potential moving forward. I would have liked to have Scal as like the backup big there, but I like that the collection of players. You know what I mean? Like we'll see. Not all of them. I doubt all of them are going to realize their potential. You know, hopefully one of them does. But like I like the future makeup of this team. The problem is 5 years from now, Damian Lillard's going to be 34 years old. So we got to do something before then. We're probably gonna have to trade one or multiple guys like that in order to cash in on Dame. I wish Dame was like 25. Wouldn't be so frantic, you know what I mean? But Dame's, I don't know how old. Let me look it up. Damian Lillard. Dame is 29 years old. He turns 30 in July, so we'll be 30 at the start of next season. He doesn't have a ton of time. Who knows when he's going to decline. I do think Dame has a chance to like keep up this level of play for a while because he's, I don't know, he takes great care of his body, it seems like. He's durable. He seems like kind of like LeBron in that regard, but he has less NBA mileage than LeBron. His shooting ability, you know, should still be there when he's 34, 35, whatever. You know, maybe he can't shoot as deep, but like he said, it's like core and hips is like what helps you shoot from that deep and just working on it like that. So you still might be able to shoot the way he is. He's still going to be, you know, he's a smart player. He's good with his handle. A lot of the moves, like he's just kind of herky-jerky in a way, like, but he's not just a guy who just relies on his speed to get downhill. Like he uses a good change of pace. He's crafty. He sees the floor well. He's getting better as a passer. You know what I mean? So like he's a guy who could still be like a really like a top 10 player 5 years from now potentially, but you just want to give him the best chance possible and open up that window of contention now and ride it until he's declining.
Yep. So part of my Thibel's basically just a 3-point shooter, right? He's one of those guys who averages. We talked about this during our midseason grades, right? How he's averaging 39% shooting from the field, but he's shooting 37% for threes. So it's basically like he's just a 3-point shooter, right? I'll have to check how many. He averages 4.2 field goals per game, and 2.7 of those are 3-pointers. So Clays is saying, like, you guys wanted Covington, but you don't want Thibault.
Covington's bigger, though. Covington's bigger. He's more proven. He is a better defender. You know, like, Thibault has the potential to be Covington-esque on defense, but the thing is, Covington was also available. Thibault isn't available, you know? Covington is also 6'8", 6'9". Thibault's like 6'5". So a big part of like Covington being as good as he is defensively is his height and his versatility. I wanted to respond to Brett saying, "What if we mix some man-to-man and maybe 3-2 defense? Would that have potential with like Whiteside and Nurkic both playing?" You'd give up so many wide open corner threes out of that, like it'd be scary. Like, which is the NBA offenses would just eat that alive.
I don't know, like you could have it where like the big tries to get out and the big isn't going to get out in time, having to guard like the low post and then rotate over to the corner and have the other big rotate over to strong side low post. Or you'd have to have that wing, you know, the outside guys and the three up top, basically the wings. They'd get stuck in positions where they'd have to like be the one to pick up free throw line extended, and then the ball gets swung to the corner, and then they have to chase the ball to the corner, and they wouldn't get there, you know what I mean? So it'd just be easy, simple pass, like extra pass, and I guess I could show it on the clipboard. I'll do that, but because I've heard multiple people actually suggest this, so I might as well just show it. Let's see here.
No, you couldn't fit in time with Nurk and Whiteside. Even against the benches. It's even worse against the benches because usually bench lineups are more smaller and we don't take advantage of size mismatches anyway. So 1-2-2 would probably be the best zone, but zones are like a gimmicky thing in the NBA, and it's good to throw them out every once in a while, but you couldn't get away with playing it where the offense knew every time Whiteside and Nurkic was in the game, you could basically only run a 1-2-2 zone.
Here's what they do against the 3-2, so like 3-2. Here's what they do. They'd run 4 out like this, okay? So you...
And real quick before you get explaining this, so technically these defenses are allowed in the NBA, but there is also still the 3-second defensive rule. So you can't, like, unlike in college where you could just camp the guy in the middle of the key and play like a 2-3 defense and it would be fine. That would probably work in the NBA, but then you would get called for a 3-second violation, and every possession they would shoot a technical free throw. So you can't do that. So in the NBA, even though you can play zone, it's like really hard to play an actual zone because you're not allowed to stand in certain areas if you're not next to a defense.
And also the thing is, like, NBA players are a lot better at beating a 2-3 zone, even if there wasn't 3 in the key, because they're better at like splitting this gap, this point guard. And literally, here's what happens: the center has to rotate over, take the layup, that dump off pass is there, or this guy has to come take the dump off pass, and that's there, and then this guy has to rotate down, and the zone is, he skips it there, and nobody's there. This point guard spot's over here, like the zone falls apart if you can do that. So that's how you beat a 2-3 zone. And the thing is, like, guards are a lot better at throwing lobs. So if this center rotates and this power forward isn't down as quick as he should be, that's easy lob or easy dump off pass, and these guys are better at finishing than guys college level, or you just kick it out, move the ball, and just tear apart the zone like that. Thing is, a 3-2 zone. Here's how teams would beat it. So you got 3-2 zone. The thing is, you wouldn't have to worry about like camping in the paint, since like in a 2-3, the center's like job is to like be in the paint. He's in the middle part of the 2-3, but like since it's a 3-2, they'd kind of be here, so it wouldn't be as big of an issue. But here's what teams would do, right? You'd have the ball here, and it literally would be this simple. You have the ball here, you skip the ball to the small forward. The shooting guard has to pick him up. Let me bring the ball forward. Okay, you kick it to the corner. This power forward has to run out there. You kick it down to the center. This guy would have to come clear over. This guy back cuts. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be something like that. Or if this power forward doesn't get out, you kick it to the small forward, and this shooting guard has to pick it up, and then you kick it to the corner. The shooting guard would have to chase him there if this guy doesn't go out. Problem is, and then if he passes it back, then the point guard might have to rotate over, and then he just literally skips it here to this guy. This guy has to get out, and then he just skips it here, and then the center has to chase out. And then if it's a perimeter power forward going up against like a big, that's probably not going to be a closeout. They're just going to attack, or they'll either have the open 3, or if the center gets out, they'll just attack this middle. It's wide open. This guy's going to have to help over. This is there for the dump. Like, literally, that's how teams beat zone. And NBA teams are really good at it.
And that doesn't include any pick and roll or penetration by NBA guards that are very good at penetrating.
That's just ball movement.
That's just passing around the perimeter. So, it would get destroyed.
It just wouldn't. 3-2 zone just doesn't work. That's why teams don't really run it. Because you could go out there and do stuff like setting a ball screen, and then bringing this guy up here, set a ball screen on this point guard. So this point guard with the ball would either come off this, this small forward would have to choose between taking away this 3-point shot or helping on the pick and roll and taking away the drive. If he takes away the 3-point shot, the point guard gets into the paint here wide open.
Hey, that looks like our normal defense.
You know what I mean? And then like just attacks here, and it has a ton of space with which to work with. Or this small forward maybe comes all the way over and it helps on the pick and roll, and then they kick it to the shooting guard, and this power forward isn't getting up there.
Or if the point guard gets through, the small forward either slips or he just pops out to the 3-point line.
If the point guard goes over, then this guy, that's the thing with the 3-2, there's a lot of space in here. Then they dump it here, and this guy is attacking the rim. And if this guy helps over, dump off pass, if the small forward comes down, it's basically the same principles. Kick out, like they just pick it apart like that.
And Clays, that's exactly what we're saying. You're saying guys would be wide open for threes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in a league that's designed by most teams to get open threes.
Honestly,
that would be like the worst possible.
And honestly,
scenario.
That's if we played well, we'd give up open threes. Because a lot of times it'd give up wide open shots in the paint.
Well, we can't even stay on our guy when we're guarding man to man, like knowing who your guy is and not like we vacate the area in a man to man defense. I can't imagine playing a zone and seeing how bad the guys on the weak side are in the wrong spots and don't know how to rotate properly. And then once you make 3 passes and you're on your second rotation, our defense would be so confused because we don't know what to do. But it's just.
Yeah. The 3-2 zone might work against us because we don't move the ball, But
although Dame's gotten so much better about. I almost wish he didn't get a pick sometimes. It just went around people, just like.
But yeah, hopefully I showed you guys why zones wouldn't work. I did like explaining that. That's fun.
Durara says Dame Team LeBron. Yeah, let's talk about something cool. So starters.
I wanted to go more on zone defense, but yeah, Dame could start if Luka
we'll go back
gets hurt or if Luka doesn't play.
Did you see the draft?
I saw that Dame was
anything?
LeBron's first pick.
Yeah. So first of all, it was hilarious because
Giannis picked Middleton.
Giannis had a pick between it was Harden, Trae Young, or Kemba Walker were left out of the starters, and he made a joke that he wanted someone that actually passed, and he took Kemba.
That's so funny.
and Charles Barkley was like, "Who are you going to take, Kemba, Trae Young, or the dribbler?" Is what he called Harden.
That's funny. People just clouded Harden. Harden gets no respect. I kind of love it.
But then so
that's why that needed
Giannis
to be televised. That's awesome.
Yeah, Giannis had the first pick of the reserves, and he took Middleton because he's his teammate, and then LeBron took Dame, and then Giannis was all mad. He was like, "That's who I was going to take next, but I had to take my teammate first."
Well, he could have taken his teammate second. That's funny that Giannis was mad about that. Yeah, Dame's the best out of all the reserves, noticeably. And I think that's the thing. Luka got drafted to LeBron's team, and Luka's a starter. So if Luka, because he's hurt right now, so if Luka doesn't start, then Dame would start unless they did something stupid and started someone else. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't see any way if Luka doesn't play how Dame's not starting, considering he was the first pick of the reserves
But I wanted to show like the type of zone defense we ran in high school. I'm going to take the offensive players out here. It gave Peyton Pritchard fits.
But once
it's not an
really
NBA thing, just for the hell of it. Just because, I think I've tried to explain this to you, but, I didn't have some way to show you. So, let's just have defense, right? It was a 1-2-2/1-3-1 hybrid, okay? So I'm just going to rotate the defense based on where the ball is. The problem is, this works in high school. I actually really liked running the zone. You just have to have mobile bigs. But, in high school, you have guys that are, 6'4". You know what I mean? So it starts off as a 1-2-2. If the ball goes here, this small forward goes out.
Brett wanted to see a 1-2-2, so this is perfect.
Yeah. But this was a hybrid. This wasn't a normal 1-2-2.
Yeah.
We ran a hybrid zone that it confused a lot of teams. It actually worked surprisingly well. It might make sense. I don't know. I'm curious to hear your opinion on this zone, Eric, because I never saw anybody run a zone like this. So if the ball gets swung, right, this side, this wing goes up and gets ball. This center actually goes up and takes away high post, and this shooting guard has the backside. So it turns into a 1-3-1 with it on the side. If it goes to the corner, this power forward goes out, closes out, and this center goes down, takes away the big, and this small forward slides back and takes away the high post and and that's like how the zone works. If it's swung back, this guy goes back out. This guy slides back up to high post. This guy goes back down, takes away that. The thing is, this guy has to front so he can get out to the corner if the ball goes corner. But this guard is like there to like take that away. So swung back up. This shooting guard goes back up. This big goes back down. Swung over here. Power forward comes up to high post. Wing gets ball. This wing drops down, goes corner. This guy goes out. This guy goes down. This guy goes back there. Does that make sense to you? Like,
Yep. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
It's pretty crazy, and it would be hard to do in the NBA because of the 3-second rule. But yeah, as long as everyone flies around,
it could work in college.
See, that's the problem with zones is like it takes all 5 people have to know exactly what to do in all situations and how to rotate, and they have to do it quickly. And if one person breaks down, it breaks down the whole thing. So it's really tough. But yeah.
We shut down Peyton Pritchard with that. It worked against the D1 players.
Nice.
There was a point where he was sitting at half court. I'll switch back to the off this display capture. There was a point he was standing at half court, like kind of like near the sideline. He was like looking at our zone, and he was like he'd swing it across like to the other like side of the court near half court, and he wouldn't even look at the guy. He'd like pass it and like look at our zone, and then like point for him to pass to the corner. He'd pass it down to the corner, and he'd like look at our zone just because like the way we were rotating was unique. But like he was such a smart player that he was like, I'm gonna try and figure out the zone. But then he saw it and didn't know what the hell he was seeing, like what the hell we were doing. It just seemed random, I guess, just because the rotations are so weird on that. And he had like 6.6 turnovers because then he'd get the ball back and then like try and like thread the needle on a pass and we'd be there just because we were flying on those rotations. The only problem with it, is you have to have mobile big men because like this big would have to, if the ball was corner, he'd have to get there. Ball there, go back to low post. If the ball gets swung over there, he'd have to go all the way up here. Then the ball goes there. He'd have to go all the way down here. So you'd basically be covering this whole area as bigs, like both bigs would. Worked really well when I was in high school because I was like skinny, quick, really mobile. The other big was a lot like me, and we were lanky, and we like flew, dude. We flew around. It was so much fun because a lot of times the ball would get like past here and I'd be down and I'd just start sprinting up, and this guy would always, this would be a small forward and there'd be like a high post because there's always a high post against zones. This guy would get the ball and always try and throw it in there, but I'd literally already be sprinting, so I'd get a hand in there, steal it, run out. It was a ton of fun playing that zone. They still play it. It's the one good thing about that high school system. But yeah, I just thought that was curious. That wouldn't work. Definitely wouldn't work in the NBA. Teams move the ball too well, too much ground to cover. It's definitely, I'm not suggesting that or anything. It was just something we did in high school.
Nice.
But oh man, did Gabriel play it all tonight?
I didn't see him play.
They played Hazonia over him. How'd Hazonia do?
Yeah.
I saw he had a dunk.
He actually didn't do too bad.
Did he do like good, like by Hazonia standards? How did he do?
Hazonia standards were okay. He had, I think when he first came in is when we got down double digits almost right away.
No surprise there.
But like overall, it wasn't really his fault too bad. I didn't really like notice him messing up too much tonight. No turnovers. He had that dunk. I want to say he had like 2 or 3 rebounds, but
we came back and took the lead in the middle of the second.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm just looking at like the game flow chart.
Yeah, we went on. Like I said, our second unit, Simons got hot and had like 10 points. And
God, dude, my IT band is cramping up. Oh man. Why can't I look at the box score for this game? ESPN, please? No? Okay, cool. Appreciate it. I wanted to look at the box score, but maybe I'll do it on the line. So today's Thursday. We got podcast tomorrow and postgame tomorrow. Okay, lots of streaming. What were you gonna say?
Maybe we should. That's all we're gonna do is complain. Maybe we should skip the podcast.
No, we can talk. We can talk about other deals teams did.
Yeah.
Okay, so Whiteside 8 for 10, super efficient, 23 rebounds, 17 points, 4 blocks, typical Whiteside game. Lillard 9 for 23 for 9 from 3, 26 points per game, 10 assists. Yawn, it wasn't 40. CJ 8 for 19.6 assists. Hey, CJ 6 assists. I feel like he's kind of been less aggressive the past couple games. He still has his moments that drive you crazy, but he hasn't been super aggressive. Also only played 30 minutes because he had 5 fouls, but Trent came in and 18 points off the bench, 6 for 7 from the field and from 3. Okay, gotta turn that off. Trent also had 4 assists, so did he make a couple nice passes, or was it just kind of the flow things? Yeah.
Trent? He had one sweet pass. It was on a fast break, and he went up and then kind of it's kind of weird. He kind of turned, but kind of half threw it behind his back to Scal coming down the lane. He laid it in. Not Scal. Swanigan.
Mad again.
Sorry.
Mofo got dang. Swanigan, Swanigan 3 for 4. I was surprised to see that. He scored 6 points. That's a lot for Caleb. In 12 minutes. Hazonia 1 for 2, no turnovers, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 points in 13 minutes. I mean, that's good for Hazonia. You didn't have 5 turnovers. Simons only played 15. Why'd Simons? So if Simons went off in the first half, why'd he only play 15 minutes?
Why
didn't they play Trent more at the 3 and Simons more minutes and Hazonia less?
Well, Simons came in and he played, I want to say both of his shifts were 6 to 7 minutes. But Dame and CJ come back in, and then Trent was playing well. So
adjusted some way. I mean, I guess Mario was playing with them. That's why I'd stagger it a little bit more, so you can make that decision to play Simons a little more if he's playing well, and not move Trent to the 3.
He didn't really do anything in the second half. He kind of struggled. So.
But that's the thing. When he's hot like that, I would like to see him get a little bit more run, especially when you can play Trent more at the 3 and Mario less, and play Simons more at the guard spot instead of Trent, because Trent's getting some guard minutes right now. But not really a big complaint. Simons was a plus 13 too.
Hazonia was minus 12 and 12.
And didn't he play with
Dame was a minus 9. But that tells me he
didn't play with Simons, so they could have played Simons in place of Hazonia and moved Trent to the 3 or gone with the 3 guard lineup. I don't know. But just don't even play Hazonia. Here's what I do. So everybody's getting 36 minutes per game. CJ played 30 because of foul trouble. Everybody's playing 36 minutes per game. That means 12 minutes per game at each backup guard spot, or each backup spot, at all backup spots. I'd play Swanigan 12 minutes behind Whiteside. I'd play Ariza 24 minutes per game as the small forward, and then 12 minutes per game as the backup power forward behind Carmelo. That leaves 24 minutes at small forward. I'd play Trent 24 minutes as small forward and Simons 24 minutes at the backup point guard and shooting guard. Maybe you play Trent 28 and Simons 20, but run an 8-man lineup. Don't even play Mario at this point. If you're not going to play, I like Wenyan. I wish Wenyan would play, but if we're not going to play Wenyan and Little's hurt, just run an 8-man lineup. Play. Swanigan could still only get 12 minutes a game. You just play Trent and Simons more, because Hazonia played 13 minutes. Trent played 24. Simons played 15. So you could just take away Hazonia out of that and give more minutes to Trent and Simons.
Yeah, I just think if we're trying to win games, Simons can't really be getting 24 minutes right now unless he's
20. Give Trent 28.
I think he's playing about. Like I said, he did not play well in the second half.
Or give Simons 60 minutes and Trent 36 and don't play Hazonia. You know what I mean?
It should it should go more to hot hand, especially like if you have a guy who hits 6 of 7 threes, he should play more
I
than
just wouldn't
23
play
minutes
Hazonia.
probably.
You know what I mean? You can run an 8-man
Yeah.
lineup. I mean, the starters are already playing 36 minutes per game. I mean, Whiteside 36, Lillard 37, Ariza 37, Carmelo 35, CJ 30 only because of foul trouble. He would have usually been around 36. So you're already playing those guys a ton of minutes. So it's possible when you're playing your starters that much. Just like Trent, I see Trent 24 minutes in a great game and Hazonia 13. I wish that was like 32 for Trent and a couple more minutes for Simons.
Unfortunately, we didn't. I think that's just because we didn't have Little tonight. Because if Little was there, then he would get at least the 12 minutes for Hazonia. Then we'd have
if
to.
we had Little, I would
but,
like to run a 9-man lineup with Little playing. But like when we don't have Little and not going to play Gabriel, I guess like don't play Hazonia. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Like people would say, oh, you have to because if I don't know, even if you had Gabriel and Little out, you still don't have to play Hazonia any minutes because you can move Ariza over to play some small ball power forward. Caleb can be the backup center, and then the rest of the minutes are available at the 1, 2, and 3. CJ can slide over to point guard, so you can make more minutes available at the 2. Like you could give Trent like 30 plus minutes per game, and Simon's like 18 to 20, and Swanigan 12 minutes at backup power forward, and that could fill out your rotation without having to play Mario. That's just my point. That's what I would do. But,
yeah. Yep.
Anyway, I gotta stretch out my IT band because my IT band's cramping up. I hate it. Probably going to end up signing off here. We've streamed for how long have we been streaming for tonight? Like 2 hours. So we've streamed for 7 hours today, guys. And we got a podcast tomorrow and a post-game show tomorrow. For the All-Star break. So the All-Star weekend is like 14th, 15th, 16th. Like we'll do a Friday podcast right before All-Star weekend, like the 14th. But then the All-Star break goes up through like it stops on Thursday of the next week, like the 20th. I'm thinking, let me know what you think about this, Eric, but I was thinking about maybe not doing during an All-Star week when there's no games, just like taking a little bit of a break and not doing a Monday or Wednesday podcast. We'll have no picks against the spread. There will be like not much to talk about, and like we can take like a 5-day break from streaming or something. Maybe put out a video or two instead. I don't know, like if you want. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm cool with whatever.
What do you think about that, guys? Like, well, and then just for us take a little like All-Star break, kind of get rejuvenated in a way, and 5-6 days off, whatever it is, like that'd be I think that'd be good for us because we got 2 streams tomorrow. We've already streamed 7 hours today. Like it would be nice just to kind of like obviously I love doing this, I'm not complaining or anything, but it'd be nice to just like refresh and regroup and get rejuvenated because it does zap a lot of energy. You're gonna stream post All-Star stuff, Blazers Uprise? Could maybe do something for like All-Star weekend, but I don't know. Like that Monday through Thursday, at least 4 days, which would be a lot to like not stream anything. So, 5 days, 6 days, whatever it is. One video to recap Dame in the All-Star game, and I recap him in the 3-point contest as well. It'd be fun to like make a video game because I haven't been doing anything for videos. I'm sorry I didn't get that mailbag out. I was just preparing the trade deadline stream and trying to figure out some technical things and that type of stuff. I will have a mailbag post trade deadline that I'll actually make sure to get out because I won't be preparing for a trade deadline stream. No more trade talk videos. We'll get into the draft stuff. Got to figure out what I'm gonna do for that. But like that's the thing is I'll still be working on stuff like taking like 5 days off. It's just I won't be on stream. I'll be maybe figuring out like what I'm gonna do like in terms of draft content and other stuff and publishing new merch. That link is still there in the description if you want. Keep Portland Mellow shirts. They're not gonna be up for too much longer. But had a couple of people order those, so I'm looking forward to getting those out, and then I'll drop like the gear with the logo on it and that type of thing. I'll use the All-Star break to get that together, and I'll probably drop it like the 15th of February, I'm thinking, is when I'll drop the the like next line of stuff, I'll be dropping. Here's what I plan on doing. I want to drop like a poster once a month. I'm getting good with graphic design, so like I can drop like posters and stuff, like artwork, and for a decent price, like $12 or something, $10, like good high quality stuff. I don't know. Maybe you guys wouldn't like that, but it'd be cool to have like a poster series, drop one poster a month or two, maybe two. Probably one poster a month, and then have like a series. And if you guys want, you can collect them or whatever. But like maybe a poster commemorating Dame's 6-game run, with his stats and like some quotes from people on it, and like a graphic of Dame. Like that's something I plan on doing. I don't know. If you guys want, that'd be cool. And then some like a Blazers Uprise hat would be cool. I think a Blazers Uprise sweatshirt just with the logo on it. I think it would look pretty clean, to be honest. I like the way I think the logo would look good on merch. So, yeah, that's the plan. Make a Neil dartboard, please. Would you guys buy that? I would actually see about making that a possibility. Honestly, I could possibly make that happen. Seriously? A Neil Dart? That would be funny, man. That would be funny. His mouth is the bullseye. I feel like that'd be too much though. You guys could always post a picture on your dartboard. I don't know. If you guys have ideas for like merch or even like accessories, like could be anything, let me know if you guys would want stuff, because I'm all ears. Reversible dartboard with studs on the other side. What were you saying?
I was going to read that, yeah.
Studs on the other side, flip it around.
Your chair is so squeaky.
I'm sorry. I'm rubbing my T-band because my T-bands will cramp up sometimes after playing basketball, and I'm at my desk, so my legs are all bunched up. I can't really stretch them out.
Is that what the kids call it these days? Rubbing your IT band.
God, you're gross, bro. You know what your IT band is, right? You guys know what your IT band is? Like a band that runs down like the outside of your legs. Yeah, I have problems with them. So my knees, they kind of mess up my knees, and I'm hurting. God dang, it's bad. But yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll keep you guys posted. I'm gonna sign off because I'm just exhausted. Been a long day, been a lot of streaming. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed all the content. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Make sure to keep tuned with our Twitters. If you're in here and you don't follow us on Twitter, at Blazers Uprise for the channel, at Tori Jones YT for me, and at Hoopsjock for Eric. I can't point to the right spot. Let me try and get this. Blazers Uprise, Tori Jones YT, Hoopsjock for Eric. Make sure you follow us. And yeah, time to see a physical therapist, Tori. Some good exercise for it. Yeah, I need to, but I've just put it off for years. Take it easy, man. Thank you all for watching.
Later, guys. Been fun, even though I've been pissed off all day.
It'll be better tomorrow when we'll have a podcast. We'll talk about some other trades, I guess. We just got to transition into like a different mindset because it's been trade mindset, so it's kind of weird for that to be over now. But gotta move on. I'll watch the game tomorrow night, and we'll have like more reaction to the game since it won't be on trade deadline day, and we'll see how the Blazers do in Utah tomorrow. So we got 2 streams planned for tomorrow. So going crazy. This 48-hour stretch starting this morning to tomorrow night. It's gonna be like, I don't know, 10 hours, 11 hours of streaming. That's a ton, but we do it for you guys, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. So take it easy. Hope you guys have a good night. We'll catch you later. As always, peace out.